Hello everybody and welcome to the stream. Why am I so tiny? I don't know. Fix that. I don't know why it does that sometimes. I have to load it to here and put it down to here and then it works. I don't know. It's the magic of OBS. Good morning everybody. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, you people. You anger me. But good morning. I hope you're all having a good start to the day. We're going to be jumping into the Legatus 505 story time in just a moment. Having a lot of fun. First off, XXX Sapphire, thank you so much for donating the food funds. That's very sweet of you. I hope you're all having a good day. Yeah. We're going to start off with chapter 3. We're going to do chapter 4. And it seems like there's another corrupted file. So I guess we'll try to open that up at the end and see if we can get into it. Depends on if we have the password. So, good morning everybody. Are you excited? Are you looking forward to reading Parasocial in Stockholm and the neon gods we made? The voice is lulling me back to sleep. Let's go. That's the plan. With that said, we'll open up chapter 3 Parasocial in Stockholm. I got some feedback on my last read through. So people basically said, oh. And I'm not going to be able to raise the book this time. I just realized I forgot to set that up properly. Shit. That's going to be more aggravating. That was something I was supposed to have set up. People basically said use the normal voice most of the time, but then use Legatus voice for when it's in his head or when it comes to dialogue. So that makes sense to me. Let's go. The drawn legend. I swear to solve your ARG even if it takes the absolute kippilization of the universe. Okay. Good luck with that, the drawn legend. I believe in you. I believe in you. Did you get the password for this week? I hope you did. With that said, let's open up chapter 3, Parasocial in Stockholm, and dive into this. And if you have been there for the membership stream, then you've read the beginning of this, but I've changed it since then. I've updated. Chapter 3, Parasocial in Stockholm. Content warnings: body horror, gore, self-harm, kidnapping, and murder. You know, all of that fun stuff. All of the basics. Sounds really good, huh? So just be warned, this is going to be a dark story. If you need to dip out because of that, completely understandable. No worries whatsoever. No problem. Drip, drip, drip. Red. It's a color that has been hardwired into humanity's very DNA. Passionate, vibrant, enticing. The color of a romantic sunset, of songbirds in spring, of berries that grow against all odds in the winter. The inexperienced child pants still, his face flushed red from exertion, having burned out all of his passion. Drip, drip, drip. Gray. It's about as far from color as you can actually get. Dull, lifeless, artificial. The color of damp clouds, of rotting flesh, of the mold that festers and drains other living things. The indecisive men run hands through their pale hair, expressions cold and voices impassive as they discuss the gray area. Drip, drip, drip. Black. It's a shade rather than a color, absolute as its bright antagonist. Dark, fierce, unforgiving. The color of endless light, of volcanic ash, of deadly nightshade that dares anyone foolish enough to take a bite. The incomplete child stares down at his obsidian black hands, gray screws and casings holding them together. Red blood coalescing on every surface, in every crevice, dripping down to the ground while its weight remains as an unfading black mark. The hands twitch slightly, damaged from the heavy impacts inflicted on them. The cracks and dents tell a story. Justice, he told himself, marred by bloodshed. Vengeance, perhaps, punctuated with gunshots. Slaughter, they say, condemning without hearing the whole tale. Just a red herring within the grey matter of the black sheep's colourful history. Ovid! A voice calls out. It echoes through the factory, the bass vibrating to his very core. That was his name. Always had been. Just a sheep led around by whichever shepherd barked in his direction. Always thought that he would end up the one in the abattoir, yet here he kneels covered from head to toe in the gore of a butcher. Carnis, we're going to need to take him in. Those Cynets. They're unlike anything you've turned over to the Legion. What are you thinking? A softer voice, cool and frosty compared to the warmth of the last. The wolf and the hound circle around the sheep, fangs bared at one another as they fight over their prey. Later, they'll all be part of the same pack, but not now while the scent of meat is still enticing them on. Thump, thump, thump. I stare down at my hands, watching the red drip clear of their inky surface. Water resistant, treated with a coating that lets liquid run off of them for good measure. Why then will the dripping never cease? My eyes catch sight of a fracture at the end of my forearm. It's small, but just dented enough to give a tiny view into the flesh within. Wires for nerves, tubes for veins, layers of carbon fiber to replicate the twitch and flex of muscles. A pale amber liquid is gently flowing out of the crack and dripping to the ground along with the blood. Some sort of acidic solution that I didn't understand back then. At that point, only one man knew what it was that made me me. I think, therefore I am. Perhaps I thought too much back then. The fingers of my other hand begin scratching at the small crack, digging into the space between and peeling open a window into my very anatomy. Wires to replace the nerves. Artificial neurons and synapses carrying messages from the source to the shell. My fist coils around the bundle of nerves, my entire head screaming and warning at the violation. Ovid, stop! Get out of my... I see nothing but red as I scream, ripping the coil of wires out of my arm. The grey wires begin pulling loose. Each inch of movement felt as intensely as though they were barbed and the metal was flesh. My vision fades to black as their scream is cut off and replaced with silence, all of the air ripped out of my lungs along with the nerves. I press on, pulling and tearing even as I collapse to the ground. More and more of the wires slide out of my arm, but the pain doesn't end there. I feel it tug deeper. It's passing through the upper arm, my shoulder, and catching on my spine at the base of my neck. One more scream and a final yank lead to the wires finally snapping free of what I thought was my spine. There's a different sound that I hear and feel within my very roots. Wire ripping free of metal. The click and snap of machinery reacting to damage and preventing further failure. The machine arm goes limp, but I still feel the coil of wires screaming in pain as they crumple on the ground, and more of that amber solution sprays onto them. A burning sensation more intense than I ever felt from my own flesh. Several voices are raised in alarm as the rest of my body falls down and lies limp on the ground. The red blood all around me ripples and waves as the onlookers stomp through it. The grey wires pulse with pain as they swim in the spilt life of others. My vision fades once more as I mercifully black out, escaping those corpuscular questions for at least a few hours. Red, grey, black. The primary colors that paint my world. That's supposed to be in the middle. But yeah, dark beginning to the storyline. Nice little flashback. The description is pretty good. Thank you. I liked that. Last line. Yeah, I tried to connect it all back to black, grey, red. To somebody who asked me if I was going to pin the content warnings, I don't need to. They're literally at the bottom of the stream. They're not going to disappear. They're going to be there the whole time. So anybody who loads up the video at all, can hear this at all, will see them. So don't worry about it. Corpuscular questions. Oh, yeah. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm glad to hear you all here. What are you reading? I am reading my own story. This is the novel that I've been writing for the last couple of weeks. And we're going to keep going. This is so great. I can imagine the things in front of my eyes. I'm glad to hear that. Let's go. The link back to the colors. Yeah, that runs through the whole thing. When I upload this later, you'll be able to see that it's in like every couple of paragraphs. It's great. I was really proud of that. Thank you for noticing. Beep, beep, beep. My eyes flutter open, fighting to rise against the weight of a REM cycle they haven't felt in months. The ghost of a scent still lingers in my nostrils. Metallic like rust, caustic like acid. 2 fingers at the side of my neck connect me to the caller on the other end, and a frosty voice drones on as if we'd already been in the middle of a conversation. Olga? I sent 4 messages and called twice already. Don't tell me you're actually asleep. There's the hint of a pause, and I open my mouth to respond as she continues on. More likely drinking, am I right? Well, are you sober enough to take on a legatio? The voice pauses for more than a second, and I hear the tap, tap, tap of fingernails on a desk. I let the silence hang in the air, already sliding down the bed and getting dressed for the day. Impossible to tell what time it is, but that doesn't matter for a Legatus. How much did you drink exactly? The voice asks, more accusation than question. That rhetorical, or he has a voice? A frigid laugh that I only hear over the phone rings in my ears, like an iceberg shattering in the wilderness. She's so different from her in-person persona. Hard to deal with. Same exact voice, though. I've sent you the mission details. Twice, I think. 3 times. Look them over and be there when you can. I've reserved this one for you. Why? I ask. Honestly curious as to her decision process. I'm literally built to breach barriers and neutralize hostile targets. Yet for the last several missions given to me by the Praetor, I've not had to disable power saving mode once. Hello? There's no tone telling me of the line being disconnected, just the silence and my own voice echoing back in my tiny room to confirm that she's already gone. I go through the trouble of calling and sending messages if she's just going to connect directly to my neural network, without consent no less. Any other Legatus might have some choice words to share with another Praetor. Something went real wrong with this one. All of these have gone off. I noticed the italics are gone as well. Girl boss? Girl boss. I can imagine this in my head. That's good to hear. Glad you guys are enjoying it. People with active imagination winning right now. Yo, if it's written well enough you can properly imagine it, let's fucking go. I'm glad to hear it. 1 minute, I'm going to have a drink of water. Market District 6. The sky is just turning a dark shade of blue as I pull into the rundown building that houses my target. In the Duoverse, the building itself isn't visible, just a marketing space which, combined with the 5 other buildings nearby, play an unending loop of cheap advertisements. Cheshire Cat is coming, the screen promises me as a tall and slim cat girl strides confidently onto a stage, grinning mischievously behind an oversized microphone before fading away. I make my way into the building, seeing several other 5-second advertisements for small streamers and influencers, each face hoping to make it big and be the next hit. Any one of these hopefuls might deserve to have their name in lights. As it was, they had to buy the advertising space, 5 seconds of time their only shot at catching the eyes of any citizens that happened to be driving by. Each ad looked more generic than the last, with witty slogans, slick logos, and unique visuals all blending into one hazy memory of neon lights. By the time I pressed the elevator call button on the door below, I'd forgotten all of the names and slogans. The apartment number I needed, the only memory retained from the walk. Hello? Is this the Legatus? A soothing voice asked through the intercom. I paused again, surprised at the calmness with which I was greeted. Yes. Is this Iris Park? I asked, suddenly unsure of the name I'd been provided or if the report had been accurate at all. Yes, it is. They sounded excited at my arrival, and the doors in front of me slid open, an old-fashioned ping sound announcing the arrival of the elevator. A curious exhalation of air escapes my lips as I step inside. Smells of urine, rotten food, and moldy clothes assault my nostrils instantly. Once the doors had closed and the rickety machine began rising, it shook up all of the air, intensifying the scents and assuring me I would need a shower after this. Exiting the elevator, puzzled glances locked onto me from the open doorways of more than a dozen citizens. Outwardly, I'm the picture of stoicism, expressionless, calm, moving with confidence through the halls without another thought. Inwardly, I can feel the bile building up in my stomach from the small amount of gin that I admittedly had consumed the night before. Not enough to get drunk or hungover, dear listener. Chill. Just enough to dull the senses until whatever grey noise my recommended playlist had shuffled through helped me to fall unconscious. I can't read today. There's something wrong with this picture. Locking eyes with a few of the citizens, they mostly panic and shut their doors, a not so subtle creak or knock signaling that each has been reopened once I'm a few feet beyond them. They all look so dirty. Hair messy and greasy, skin blotchy and burned, clothes hanging loose from their forms rather than showing off their figure. There's also far more signets on display than I'm used to. Cheap filtration devices and uncustomized prosthetics catching the dull yellow light of the bulbs above. Zzz. My eyes look up cautiously at one such light as I go by. It's flickering slightly and emitting a faint, high-pitched squeal. Physical light? I blink twice, confirming that nothing in the hallway has changed. 2 fingers on my neck try to summon up a web page, but nothing appears. I blink twice again and see that web page is already waiting for me, the only pulsing and shimmering image in my sight. Dismissing it, my eyes dart left and right, peering at the faces in the hall once again. How had I not noticed before? I've gotten too used to turning off the duoverse, to viewing reality in its still and lifeless form. Despite this building being within the limits of Central Republic, the entire interior is without any DV customization. Every face that peers at me, cautious and curious from within their own safe spaces, is a pure uni. Other than a few pair of eyes that glow faintly in the dull light, no one seems to even have glasses or headsets to view the duoverse. My pace picks up slightly as I realize just how exposed and defenseless I am. By the time I see the number 42 appear on my right, I'm almost jogging, stretching forward to knock on the door. Its opening catches me by surprise. I push past the person welcoming me through its frame, their hospitality cut short as I move in through the darkness, spinning on my heels only at the next doorway to what seems to be a living room. I feel my face knitted into a grim expression and fists balled tight, neither of which are very Legatus of me. My host quickly shuts the door behind me, coughing erratically into a frail hand. We stand there for a moment, me shaking like a wounded animal, and them coughing and eventually collapsing against the frame of the door. Another moment passes before I run metal fingertips through my grey hair, brushing away the damp strands that fell into my eyes. A sigh escapes my lips before I relax and say aloud to the frail form, "Are you okay? Do you need me to get you anything?" A few more coughs escape their lips as they pull themselves back up, using the handle of the door for stability. "Water. Not you. Would you like something to drink?" Pulling themselves forward more than walking, my host makes their way into a side room, and the sound of liquid pouring into a container drowns out some of the continued coughs and wheezes. Following the source of the sound, I find my host draining the first glass of water for themselves before pouring out another. "Are you sure you're okay?" I ask. They jump a little, spinning to face me with one hand grabbing the sink behind them for stability. Grey hair cascades down their own form, bound on one side in a loose bundle that hangs over the front of their shoulder. Within the dark grey and silver is a hint of blonde, sparks of life in a winter storm. Their eyes, sunken deeply into their skull, are a pale blue. Slightly into their skull, whoops, shaking as they dilate in panic. Their skin is so pale that they appear a ghost, fading into the muted greys and browns of the room. It doesn't help that they wear a long and flowy sundress that drifts in the gentle breeze of the air conditioning. The pastel blue of the dress has faded to the color of chalk from years of washing and reuse. The floral patterns and shape of the original stitching all look off and misshapen from countless tears and frays that have been repaired with simple needlework. The form pulses and shimmers. It's a duotar, no doubt about it. A perplexingly plain duotar that suggests a frail middle-aged form. Not so old that they should be this weak. Beautiful and tender, with the kind of features that you don't see in the Republic, land of eternal youth for those who can afford it. I clear the distance between us in 3 steps, taking the glass out of a trembling hand and refilling it with the water from a drug that has a slight scent of eggs drifting off of it. Handing them the full glass, I consider my next move carefully. Something about this feels even more off. I could end it now with a single punch. Save us both the whole world of panic and messing around. It's a kindness, I tell myself as they take the glass. My bright red fist, freed now from its burden, drifts down to my side. Weightless. Waiting. They visibly calm themselves, pushing their body up to full height, with that left hand and continuing in the same gentle voice as before. "Sorry if I worried you, Legatus. My hardware appears to be breaking down. Perhaps it's my fate to join Tunio with or without your assistance." A smile appears on those thin lips, causing a myriad of wrinkles to form all over the rest of their face. Where before the eyes had looked sunken, the skin hanging off of bones, now they came to life, beaming with a radiance that I hadn't seen before. Despite the wrinkles and liver spots, they looked more vigorous than most who called themselves alive. "You're Iris," I confirm. "The one who called into the Legion." "Iris Park. The pleasure is mine. I've never met a real Legatus before. Honestly though, would you like something to drink? It's all going to go to waste otherwise." Iris tapped a cabinet above the sink, revealing boxes labeled with different names of tea, and then swung open the door to a refrigerator. I couldn't help but audibly gasp, greeted with multiple bottles of wine chilling in a rack, several bottles of colorful liquids labeled with the names of different fruits, an entire section of fresh produce, and even a bottle of milk. We have some tea cakes too. You can take whatever you'd like before you go. Are these all real? I ask, barely conscious of the question myself. At the same time, I bring Legion files up on my eyes and begin browsing through Tania Park's financial records. Sure enough, the man had hit it big with investments in his 30s nearly 40 years ago, and had lived off of interest ever since, always taking out less money than he earned each year without ever working. So I live in a dump like this. Why wouldn't they be real? Iris cocked their head to the side. They took a small sip of water before pulling out an apple from the back of the fridge and bringing it close to their nose. A barely audible sniff could be heard before Iris held the apple out to me. Didn't have things like this in my time, you know. We need to treasure it. After the fall, we only had the basic building blocks of nutrition and everything had the same chalky taste. I reach out slowly, fingertips coiling around the apple as I brought it close to my own nose. A scent unlike anything I'd ever experienced erased all memory of the elevator. It was almost enough to distract me from the task at hand. But still, the question haunted me. The reason this all fell off becoming clearer and clearer. What do you mean in your time, Iris? I asked the question, staring at the apple. A crimson reflection of my own distorted form looking back at me. I sink my teeth into the soft flesh, juices spilling slightly at the corner of my mouth. I'd never eaten an imitation fruit, let alone a real one, so my form left much to be desired. Wiping the juice with the back of my fist, the clear liquid dripped swiftly off of the metal and down onto the kitchen floor with an audible drip. When I was alive. Before I became an imprint. That seems like a good pausing point. The apple scent, I'm soft, let's go. Creepy vibes, let's go. Iris sus. Iris sus as fuck. Everyone's sus as fuck in this story. Always and always. Just said they're a person. Oh, yep. The way they describe eating the apple. Hey, man, if you've never eaten an apple before, you might not be so good at it. Those things are juicy. They drip. We love real apples. I wish I had real apples. Kavita, again, this is my own novel. This isn't anything. This is called Legatus 505. This is my own writing. Your writing is honestly incredible. Thank you for sharing with it. Oh, thank you for enjoying it. I'm just glad you're enjoying it. It's a lot of fun to write it, and it's a lot of fun to share it with you all. And Ben, there's always pictures in my mind while listening to your reading. Thank you for channel of your writing. Thank you so much, Pen. Thank you for donating the food funds, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. Pink Lady apples are my fave. I prefer Granny Smith's. I prefer the green ones. A world where you get no good food? Yeah, unfortunately. Too hard to grow. No sunlight. No proper sunlight, anyway. Sunlight's poison. You forgot holding your book? No, I said at the beginning of this, Kami, I forgot to set up the scene properly. If I press the book, the image will disappear. So yeah, we're just gonna not hold the book. It's so good. It's so good. I make it very clear when I stop conversing and like reading and switch to conversing. TK, your voice is so nice. As someone with dyslexia, this is so nice. I'm really into the story. Thank you so much, TK. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you for donating the food funds, and I'm glad that me reading it is helping you like follow along. That's great. Shiomori, happy to see the new chapter of Legatus 505. Can't join the stream today, but I'll catch the VOD later. Thank you so much, Shiomori. You have a lovely evening, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for donating the food funds. Which I memorized the story. I didn't memorize the story. I've just rewritten this like 12 times already. So I pretty much remember where everything is. I know where's a good point to stop and shit. Doing my best, guys. Doing my best. We were down to the wire on this one. I literally finished re-editing chapter 4 last night. It's a long one. It's a long one. Okay. One more drink and then we'll get back into this. So you know that you're an imprint? I ask. Of course, comes their simple reply. Iris Park, an imprint copied from the uni Iris Oskin. I'm married to Tamiya Park and have served as his life companion for 30 years now? Iris walked past me, finding a large reclining chair in the sitting room and slowly sinking into it before laying back. I watched this all with great interest, not sure exactly how to proceed. Another bite of the apple came much easier than the last, with no juice spilled this time. I stepped into the next room, Iris's eyes fixed on me curiously. Everything past the doorway in this apartment pulsed and shimmered, a welcome sign which I now consciously confirmed. Looking around at the decorations, I found a photo album covered in dust and tapped it twice. A small cloud of the filth wafting off of it. It's physical. Iris laughs, realizing I had expected it to be a virtual album I could open in the Duoverse. Everything may have a duotar in here, but it's all also real. Tamia was an odd one. A hint of sadness crept into Iris's voice at the last sentence. 30 years builds attachments, even in software it seems. Flipping open the album, I'm greeted by a pair of smiling faces. The one in a bright white wedding dress is gorgeous, long golden hair tied up in a series of braids, a practiced smile that betrays a history of posing for cameras, bright blue eyes the color of the sky behind them. Iris had always been beautiful. No surprise there if their imprint was kept for 30 years by a man rich enough to buy anything. This Tamia? I ask, eyeing the average man in the light blue suit next to Iris. That's him, Iris confirms with mirth in their voice. Like I said, he was an odd one. Always took me on virtual vacations and insisted on taking pictures. He could easily be Iris's father in the picture. Chubby with a poorly fitting cheap suit that did nothing to flatter his form. Flipping through the album, I find more of the same. His clothes were always form over fashion, while Iris was in an ever-changing array of expensive clothes and accessories. Tamia never looked the part of husband, even as they started to look less distant in age. There was something about the expressions and poses, though. Iris went from boldly flaunting in every shot to becoming a part of it. Their expression went from fiery and seductive to warm and inviting. There seemed to be less distance between the pair, despite some of the early photos featuring Iris literally hanging off of Tamia. I close the album and place it back on the table I found it on. You know why I'm here? I asked, turning back to face Iris. The warm smile fixed on me once again unsettles me and shakes my resolve. Of course. You're a Legatus of Division 505. I called as soon as they collected Tamia's body. Iris responds with a matter-of-fact tone. I looked around the room once more, touching a nearby bouquet of flowers that pulsed and shimmered, and confirming that they too were real. Imprints are supposed to shut down when their owner is confirmed deceased. I know! Iris lets out a little panic slip into their voice. I promise you I haven't been hacked. I know exactly what I am, and Tamia would never do that. There must be some sort of glitch, but I can't seem to solve it myself. Every time I shut down, I just power up again. Walking over to Iris, I extend a hand, palm up, and wait for them to take it. As we touch, I feel the softness of flesh, loosely hanging from what feels like real bones. As sensitive as my artificial limbs are, they've been fooled by expensive toys before. I'd never found one designed to replicate an aged form like this, though. I'm still lost. There has to be more. What type of body are you in? I don't really know. Tamia told me it's standard, a biomechanical frame built to perfectly replicate human life. You should know better than me. In my time, an imprint would rarely make it to 10 years, let alone 30. Feeling human helped me stay sane. My eyes narrow as I begin a search into the records of Iris Oskin. No results turn up, going back as far as the founding of the Republic. Can you do it already? Iris asks, pale blue eyes suddenly sharp and focused on my own. I hoped you'd make it a surprise. Their hand grips tighter against mine. I feel the pulse of some liquid pumping through their flesh at erratic intervals. Ripping my hand away, I take 2 steps back. Iris pushes their chair back into sitting position and stands, appearing much stronger than they had moments ago. I need to know your story first. Something doesn't add up. My mind is going through the facts, trying to put the information together as Iris follows me into the corner of the room. Who were you before you were an imprint? A chuckle escapes Iris's mouth. Very funny, Legatus. I may look different, but you have those fancy eyes. I am the Iris Oskin. A copy, anyway. Crimson hands grab Iris by the shoulders, keeping them at arm's length. Anything to prevent those blue orbs from seeing more. Iris is so thin that I can feel shoulder, arm, and collarbone pressing forward against my resistance. There is no Iris Oskin! The pressure against my hand ceases as Iris twists slightly, glaring at me in defiance. I push on. There's no record of an Iris Park either. Imprints can't get married, and Tamia Park doesn't have any registered imprints. Iris's gaze is fixed pointedly on my own, challenging me to deliver answers that I don't have. The steely eyes move down and focus on my hip, flashing back up with a challenging head tilt. I grab the net jack buckled at my belt and free it, lifting it to eye level. You can try if you want. I have a feeling that it won't work. Are you prepared for that? The black cylinder is ripped out of my hand instantly, and Iris doesn't hesitate at all, pressing the red tip to the side of the head. A thought from me activates it, a distinct click emitting from the device. Silence. Then Iris throws it to the side, turning away and striding to another room, all past signs of frailty gone. "It's broken!" they scream, the sound of objects being flung around filling the apartment. I retrieve the net jack, reattaching it to my belt, then follow to a huge bedroom, lavishly furnished like an expensive hotel. Iris is throwing boxes of shoes, candles, jewelry, and a wide array of clothes out of a large walk-in closet. Looking around the room, a cabinet catches my eye. I sigh in frustration at Iris moving to the clue instead. The familiar side of Iris from their youth is everywhere within, most prominently on a large canvas poster that takes up the entire back of the cabinet. Clear glass shelves slotted in front of it supporting the other items. In large letters, the name Iris Osken fills the bottom of the poster, and everywhere else is an explosion of blue and yellow designs, with Iris posing powerfully in the center, skin-tight clothes showing off their body as much as possible. Looking over the items in the shelf, I find trading cards, replica statues, chibi figures, custom gaming controllers, and branded merchandise, all with the same name, logo, and image of a grinning Iris on them. It's a shrine devoted to fiction. Iris Osken, seemingly memorialized as a celebrity despite their name not being on record at all. This isn't broken. Iris has emerged from the closet, presenting me a black box with another brand name on it that I recognize all too well.
Legatus.
Civilians aren't allowed to arm themselves with... I'm not! I'm arming a Legatus. Iris shoves the box my way, clicking open 2 fastening switches and revealing the weapon within. I called the Legion, Division 505. Are you going to do your job or not? My voice is back to the calm tone, but there's something new. No longer is Iris demanding me to do this. They seem to have connected the dots faster than me. They're pleading, begging me to do what I was called here for. Cold grey eyes focused on the name on the black box. An old friend. Nostalgia from a long-lost childhood. Metal fingertips brush gently against the inside of my palms. The apple was dropped at some point without my notice. The hands feel empty, free of any burden, weightless, waiting. What should I do, dear listener? Should I carry that weight and accept Iris's mission? Or is it not my burden to bear? Confiscate the box. This one is up to you guys. Have fun with that. Oh. Keep in mind, one is obviously much, much darker than the other one. And there's your options. We'll give that like 5 minutes. Let it sink in for a bit. The reveal, please. Is it possible to do both? No, there's no going back, Z's. Only going forward, Z's. And as per usual, whichever one we don't do gets deleted. You never get to see it. It doesn't even get uploaded to the blog. Only one possibility. More angst. I just got here. Don't make me choose. If you don't know what's going on, it's probably not a good idea to choose, to be fair. Oh, damn. You guys are pushing hard on that one. Difficult to choose. Suffering. Let's go. Losing my mind. We get to pick what happens. You get to pick what happens, not what happened. What happened has happened. Ah, man. Pure angst. Let's fucking go. Let me feel the angst. Oh. Poll, maybe? I've got the poll up. The poll is up. Ryu. Still outside at the moment. Probably won't be able to make it for the rest of the stream. We'll listen to the VOD later. Can't wait to find out what happens next. Thank you so much, Ryu. Have a lovely day. Thank you for joining us while you could. And thank you for donating the food funds. Also, thank you to the 2 members who joined the membership. That's so sweet of you. And Jean, thank you so much for donating the food funds as well with just 2 hearts. And the more darker, the better. Okay. Okay. It seems to be the way it's going. Or it seems to be we're accepting the mission. You guys are brave. You guys are brave.
Legatus.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Pain, let's go. I'm going to hurt you guys for this one. I'm going to hurt you guys for this one. Okay. We have chosen. Accept the mission. Let's end the poll. Good job, guys. Good job. Carry that weight. Accept Iris's mission. How do I... There we go. Not working. There we go. Ah! Okay. Let's go! I was literally built for this, I tell myself, taking the weapon from its container. The cold embrace of metal feels natural against my equally dense hand. I sigh, checking the charge of the weapon, adjusting its output. These are all practiced actions that were ingrained in my nervous system before I fully matured. Lifting the weapon, I line up the shot, an HUD in my eyesight displaying exactly where the impact will occur. Iris thinks too much. It's an issue we all deal with at some point in our lives, one that I cured myself of. My hands are steady, weightless in this moment as the Cynet arms, neural network, and eyes all link to do my duty. Iris mutters something in a warm tone. It's all white noise to me, interrupted by the burst of energy when I pull the trigger. I don't feel a thing. Artificial nerves having muted the sensation. Cynet arms already countering the recoil and staying perfectly still, prepared for another shot. It isn't needed. Dropping the weapon, I make my way out of Iris and Tamia's apartment. The door is left ajar. Onlookers doing their best to peer into the open wound the Legatus carved into their building. This time, I am truly stoic, reminded of who I am and the weight that I will never shift from my shoulders. Their ponderous gazes glances off of me like fluid on a well-oiled machine. And that's all you get. That's all you get for that one. You accepted Iris's mission, and so we never get to hear exactly what happened. That's the end of the chapter. Now we'll never know what happened. Emotional damage? Emotional damage! How do you feel about that one? It could have gone another way. There could have been a much more deep discussion there. The good thing is, it was exactly what Iris asked for, and Legatus was happy to deliver. Stop making us regret this. It's not a regret thing. It's not a regret thing. I'm just saying, it could have gone a completely different way, and now you'll never know. Chat, go back. Chat too late. Chat too late. There are repercussions. Keep in mind, you've also locked in some interesting things for future lines in this story. Now Legatus has decided this is his duty. So this will control Legatus in the future. Goodbye, Chapter 3. No, we don't save. I don't know what... Oh, I just made things in the middle. That doesn't matter. It's already on the blog. You can't go back. There's no going back. Sorry. That's the end of Chapter 3. That's the end of Iris' story. We'll never know exactly what happened to them. Never know. Never get an explanation. You guys will have to infer it. Or maybe there'll be an interim later in the future, talking with the professor. But for now, you guys will have to figure it out. What was Iris? Chapter 4. The Neon Gods We Made. So yeah, the idea of that one is the Legatus has basically given up on thinking about these questions. Iris is weighed down by these questions and can't move on. Wanted to be taken out. Wanted it to end. And Legatus was happy to deliver in this one. Legatus. Didn't want to think about it. So thank you for that. You made it easy for Legatus. You mean? I am mean. This is my fun. You guys made me suffer through Detroit Become Human and Disco Elysium. Now I get to fuck with you guys. This is my world. Okay. New content warnings. This one's actually one of the softer ones, considering. I mean, saying that for Legatus 505, pretty much about as much as I can get away with on this channel. You know, nice and light. Just suicide, depression, and emotional abuse. You know, normal Saturday. Normal Saturday. Okay. Yeah, pretty much every chapter title so far has been like a reference to some other media. So I'm glad that people are liking this one at least. The reverse Uno card. We made a mistake. You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. There are no mistakes. That's an important thing. Same as every make your own decision adventure. It's just you choose one way. And now you've locked in a darker future. I warned you guys in Legatus 505 Part 1. There is no going back. There's only going forward. Okay. I think we'll change the music for this one. One's less dark from the beginning. We'll go with this one. Might be a bit intense, but we still don't have our sad music in yet. Chapter 4. The Neon Gods We Made. Content warnings, suicide, depression, emotional abuse. Prepare for it. Feel free to leave if you want to. I know the suicide one is a big thing for some people that they don't want to deal with. Tish, thank you for donating the food funds. Yeah, definitely normal Saturday. Pretty much.
Legatus.
AC, was so excited to start my weekend with this stream. Forgot about the emotional damage. Rip. I'm glad you're here for it anyway. Sorry about the emotional damage. It's part of the journey. At least you'll get to read it later. And there'll hopefully be art coming in, which will be great. It'll make it more painful. Yeah, I gave Iris the dead wife haircut for a reason. There was so much foreshadowing to that. Didn't have to be the way it ended, but it was. Vivian Tran, this is awesome. Would you ever make a little paper novella? I think that is the term, or a visual novel. There's a charm to just imagination, though. I said that I'd love to someday. I'm not sure if I'd be good enough to be published, but I'd love to, like, clean this up someday, because right now it's very rough, especially the first chapter. I think that third chapter was written okay, but I'm not good enough to be published, is the thing. I'd have to, like, come back at the end of it, collect it all, maybe even hire, like, a proper ghostwriter to clean up the story and make everything flow properly. But yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to publish it. It was one of my goals when I debuted. Thank you for donating the food funds. Cooley, thank you, Fu-chan. It's still fantastic. Thank you, Cooley. That's the thing. As long as it's fun, even if it hurts you, that should be a good thing. That should be part of it. Beatrice, hi, Fu-chan. I admire your writing and storytelling so much. Love your streams. You feel like a cool big brother. Thank you. I'm not cool. I'm the geeky big brother. Looking forward to next chapters. Thank you, Beatrice. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for donating the food funds. Tsukubi, stress eating. Crunch. Let's go. Stress eating is always good. You love emotional damage? Hell yeah, it's part of the journey. Let's fucking go. It's all part of it. Thank you for donating the food funds. I loved it in Detroit Become Human. I think crying is especially good. When you cry your eyes out and then you come back later and you're like, you know what? That was good. That was cathartic. Sometimes crying for other people helps you forget your own pain for a little bit and work through it. So, thank you for donating the food funds. And we're diving back into this one. Sorry that I delayed there. We got a whole bunch of donations right as I was about to start. Chapter 4. The Neon Gods We Made. The life of a Legatus doesn't tend to stick to a fixed routine. In the Legion, the military police of the Republic, Legati are second only to the Praetor themselves, who oversees every division and precinct. The Praetor reports directly to the Senate and is given supreme authority in how to handle individual cases and threats. It's an incredible amount of pressure and responsibility that most people, seasoned veterans all, only take on for 3 to 4 years. Praetor Chroma was not most people. She had served as Praetor for 13 years, beginning as one of the youngest to take on the rank in her 40s. During her time, the Republic had faced various new threats from both inside and outside her borders, especially with recent diplomatic tensions between other megacities and biodomes. Throughout it all, she had brought a calming and dignified presence as the face and brain of the Legion. The sun is only just rising in the horizon as I sit bolt upright in her office, staring out the window in silence. A single crack of hazy light is slowly descending down her face. The coral pink hair she wears in a short bob style is swaying slightly in a breeze that doesn't actually exist. The same hypnotic rhythm is captured by the black and gold robes which cling snug against her body. Once the light makes its way to her eyes, the crack is smothered and an artificial screen kicks on in place of the window, displaying a beautiful morning unclouded by dust and pollution. She turns around and finds me staring directly at her. Her black eyes, deep as the night sky, consume me. Every part of her body has the same rhythmic pulse and shimmer of a Duoverse avatar, except for those abyssal orbs. You already finished the report? she asks, used to people freezing in her gaze. A while ago. I didn't want to tear you away from the sun, I respond. The life of a Legatus doesn't tend to stick to a routine. The only fixed schedule I have is making sure that my plants are safe in their black house before sunrise when I've taken them out.
Legatus.
Other than that, I may begin and end work at any hour, with investigations sometimes taking weeks on end. For Chroma, on the other hand, the day always begins at the same time. 10 seconds of natural sunrise before the filters turn on to protect her vision. She smiles for just a second before grabbing a pair of glasses from a desk and slipping them onto her face. Now she's seeing the world just like the rest of us, the pulse and shimmer of the Republic coming to life all around her. I slouch slightly, separated from those imprisoning depths by a thin film of aqueous lens. I don't see why you'd give this mission to me, Praetor. Surely there's a more senior Legatus that would jump at the opportunity to serve Voldy. Voldy, real name Archibald Jimmy, was an incredibly popular stand-up comedian who all members of the Republic had grown up with. Despite beginning his career 40-some years ago, Voldy had managed to stay a fan favorite all of that time. After a short hiatus due to alcohol abuse a decade in, he'd returned stronger than ever and consistently delivered short-form content and a weekly show that made light of the news while spiraling into his own brand of fast-paced humor. He was absurdly wealthy and known to be generous to all those around him. I lost my place because I got distracted by a message, sorry. All those around him, often spoiling random people he met while disguised in public. Legati couldn't legally take bribes for work, but there were no rules against receiving gifts after an investigation was complete, and so it was well known that the richest clientele were leapt on by senior staff and given priority. You're the only Legatus I trust for this case. Praetor Chroma said it so matter-of-factly I was taken aback. I wouldn't want to impose my... Cut the courteous bull, she says, expression unchanged. That whisper of a smile. I'm not giving you a gift. I'm assigning the best man for the case. Yes, Praetor. This is so different from her calls and messages. No mirth and humor from the past. You read the file. Now let me give you the additional details. The scavenger hunt the Iron Prince has been leading fans on. The second clue involved Jimmy's PNS spelling out a message in Morse code. My eyes grow wide in shock at the revelation. And there it is. As I said, you're the only Legatus for this one. Do a thorough investigation, she commands. I nod in assent, eyes unfocused as my mind still processes the Praetor's words. When I finally return her gaze, she's taken the glasses off, and now she's the one letting me enjoy my moment in silence. She still has that gentle smile on her lips, but her eyes have a slight spark to them now. Starlight in an empty nebula. I stand and salute her, realizing all too late that the conversation has already ended. I had my mission, and I was the best man for it. I've already mentioned the pulse and shimmer of the Duoverse. When augmented reality first became a common part of life in the Republic, the technology still wasn't perfect. It worked by creating a digital environment that projected itself over reality. At first it was just used to make the world look more attractive. The heavily polluted air, dyed orange and brown, returned to its former clear look. For the first time in generations, users could see the sun in the sky as it was tracked in real time using satellites. Very quickly, companies caught on to the popularity of the technology and invested in it, creating advertisements and customizing their own corporate buildings to entice the massive amount of people viewing the Duoverse all the time. The alternate reality required a ton of data and computing power to process, so it wasn't fully live. Instead, it would update every 2 seconds or so, which created a slight bloom effect like an old CRT screen being powered on. As the technology developed, so did its uses. The pure white blocks that made up the megacity, painted with a thick layer of paint so white that it almost completely reflected the harmful solar rays, became a varied cityscape of towers, each with their own individual style. Some chose to stand out with architectural designs from the past, castles and pagodas influencing their visuals. Others took a more entrepreneurial approach, essentially becoming advertising space for the highest bidder or themselves. It wasn't long before the technology allowed each individual to customize their own appearance with an avatar that replaced them in the Duoverse. In modern times, the Duoverse was the world that most citizens of the Republic viewed at all times. Whether using headsets, glasses, lenses, or the eye implants which replaced human eyes themselves, it had become difficult to live in the Republic without experiencing the same reality as everyone else. Implants and peripherals had come so far at this point that even sound, smell, and taste could be fooled. That's supposed to be implants. Shit. Implants and peripherals had come so far at this point that even sound, smell, and taste could be fooled, leaving only touch to remind one another of the reality hidden beneath the virtual mask. They tried to program in touch too, dear listener. The experiments didn't go well even on animal subjects. When they tried to move on to human volunteers, even the most powerful marketing firms in the Republic couldn't dissuade the backlash. While the servers and technology had advanced along with its uses, people had gotten used to the pulse and shimmer it began with. Many considered reality without it to be dull and bland, ostracizing those without a Duoverse avatar and avoiding the Republic outskirts, which tended to be too poor to avoid customized visuals for their buildings. I've taken a very roundabout way to say it, but the simple fact is that the pulse and shimmer of the Duoverse is a feature and not meant to be fixed in its timing and style. There had been rumors on the net that a virus was going around causing everything a user viewed, Duoverse or not, to pulse and shimmer. The company that ran the technology, Mirari Industries, assured everyone that editing the PNS in any way was impossible. But most users weren't afraid of the virus anyway. As long as you had the money to keep up subscription fees, you basically never saw anything without the pulse and shimmer anyway. I had tried to investigate the leads myself shortly after making the rank of Legatus, and found only mockery from my co-workers who, like the public, didn't give a damn about whether it was real or fake. I'm not some history-loving LARPer myself, dear listener. While I may visit a Renaissance fair or complain about new technology occasionally, I am a boomer of my own time after all. I don't yearn for a simpler time or as a small minority of the Republic do. I just personally hate those arse pulls that you get in stories that deal with reality bending and would rather avoid that becoming my... reality? Question mark? Don't lie. You know exactly the ones I mean. The top keeps spinning. The detective's eyes glow like a synth's. What if the Matrix was actually another false reality of its own? I refuse to become a cliche. I see reality for what it is, refusing to shy away from the ugly parts while embracing the gifts of ignorance that lies provide. Hell, I even hacked my own eyes to let me cycle between the real universe that Praetor Chroma sees, the Duoverse that most citizens see, and the heavily bloated free version which constantly spams you with ads about sexy imprints you can rent for a low, low price that will do anything. And I've rambled on for too long again. Forgive me. You go. The film references, did you get all of them? Did you get all of them? Boomer, let's go. Yeah. He's not exactly a child in his timeline. The boomer moment. Oh man, Inception flashbacks. Yeah, okay. The Inception one. The top keeps spinning. That's a good movie. But yeah, the questions, man. The questions. The Matrix one was obvious. I wonder if anyone got the middle one. That one's very, very cyberpunk. But I think it also depends on which version of the movie you watched. In one version of the movie, it didn't happen. I'm Prince near you. Hell yeah. You've never watched Tenet? Oh, Tenet's pretty good. But yeah, that's not one of the references. Truly. Yep. He's not like other Legatus. No, of course not. Too distracted by the Inception one. Fair enough. Tenet confused me. Tenet was interesting. It was kind of weird. Black Mirror with the ads. There's a lot of Black Mirror that goes into this. Blade Runner. There we go, Dara Kyun. Yeah. In one of the versions of Blade Runner, I can't remember which one it is. Either the director's cut or the non-director's cut. One of them, they constantly try to show who the synths are with a little red glow in their eyes. And yeah, at one point you get a slight flash that maybe our main character Deckard has a red flash in his eyes, and it's like, oh, was he a bot all along? But the novel goes into that a lot more than just like what the movie does. The movie kind of hints at it and then backs away from it, and I guess they didn't like the idea of like, oh, could it be? And so changed it. Zach, Trying to learn English with Fufu streaming, and that was too hard for me. Thank you, Google Translate. I'm sorry. I speak fast, and I use stupid words. Thank you for donating the food funds anyway. I hope you enjoy it. I love Blade Runner. How did I forget? Yeah, the synth eyes are so cool in that. That's another reason that I really love Cyberpunk recently. But every time they're interacting with like the net in their head or doing virtual stuff, their eyes glow whatever color. It's awesome. Also, if you're trying to learn English but can't follow along with this novel, I just updated. I finally added pages to my blog last night. So I've got the glossary up there now. And I've also got the links to translation pages that I found. And it also has the chat section open for anyone who wants to submit their translations. I think so far I've got Japanese, simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese, Spanish, French, Russian, Polish. I think that's it. I think 7 languages so far. And they're not all fully caught up to exactly where we are, but a lot of them are. I was really surprised. One of them, the traditional Chinese one, even like already took out the glossary before I uploaded it. Took it from the video and wrote up the glossary, so it's going to be wrong. You're going to have to redo it. Thai as well. Yes, Thai too. Thank you. I've added the Thai one as well. I think that one only has 2 chapters. But still, thank you to all the translators. That's fucking incredible. I've been having such a good time with that. And Korean. There's Korean as well. Sorry. See, I'm terrible at this. I forget things. This is why never trust me. Absolutely never trust me. If there's an Indonesian version, I haven't seen it yet. But if anybody like adds the comment, if they've already like translated it to that, we have 2 Indonesian translations. Okay. Link one of them. I will add it to the thing. We will retranslate the glossary anyway. I'm sorry. I did change a few things. I removed the references to religion and just changed it to ideology. I also changed some of the terms because some of the terms I realized that I'd combined uni and unitar when one of them actually means like the real life person of a duo of an imprint, and one of them means like the real life look of somebody outside the duoverse. So yeah, I had to change a few things. Sorry. I don't think there's German yet. If there is, you know, let me know in the comments. I'll add it. But thank you so much to the translators. That's so fucking incredible. I know how much work that is, so thank you. Oh shit. Future Corpse, thank you for donating the food funds. No message. Sai. Legatus voice simp. Hi Fuchan, my family was wondering why I rushed dinner, so I told them about you and showed parts of your first Legatus 505 stream. My father thinks you have a handsome voice. He's watching with me now. Oh no. That's embarrassing. I don't like audiences. I'm glad you're enjoying it though. I hope your father's enjoying it. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, this is kind of dark. Sorry about that. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for donating to the food funds, and I'm glad, yeah. That's so cute that both of you are watching together. Man, I never share my interests with people around me. Oh no. Yeah. We good. We powering through. Okay. Let's continue back on the story of First Water. This is a very long chapter, by the way, so buckle up. At this point, I'm in my car and heading towards Voldy's penthouse in the center of the city. The file that I was given informed me that my beloved childhood comedian had a secret. He hadn't written a joke of his own in more than 20 years. Or, depending on how you looked at it, the him from 30 years ago was still writing his current jokes. So, it's been your ancient imprint writing your material for the last 3 decades? I confirm sheepishly from the man himself. Why mess with perfection? Voldy asks, cool as a cucumber. His voice is confident, filled with arrogance and perhaps a small hint of challenge. His Duoverse avatar, has been unchanged since I was born. Vivid green hair styled in a long mohawk and exaggerated makeup like a clown's. Bright white skin, crimson lips, all that's missing is the big red nose. He's wearing a bright purple suit on top of a silver dress shirt that's buttoned only halfway up. The image is striking, iconic. I freeze for a moment in his neon green grace. I just realized, yeah, a lot of, like, this chapter was written even before debut. So you're going to notice that a lot of things in this chapter are explained, which have kind of been mentioned a bit in the 2 chapters before this. So, yeah. As long as I've lived, this man has been the voice of our generation. He knew how to break down news stories in a way that lets you absorb information while also laughing off the darker and more intense moments. I'm not ashamed to admit that I hear a lot about the Republic from him first, not concerned enough to browse other news sites or self-flagellate by viewing social media. For the second time in a day, I simply stare back in silence at a loss for words. I won't make it a habit, don't worry. I love hearing my witty remarks far too much. Thankfully, I'd recently learned a trick for dealing with situations like these. If you ever heard someone tell you to imagine your audience in their underwear, it's basically that. I blink my eyes twice, and the pulsing vision in front of me dims, replaced instead by a bold, overweight potato of a man, completely in the nude. This was unethical, devious, a violation of people's privacy and the Republic's standards, and yet not at all illegal since Mirari still hadn't found a way to make not viewing the Duoverse illegal. Yet. They'd have to give away free eyes or make poverty illegal first, and they were still working on the latter. Seeing the true versions of Republic citizens would reveal more than any background check. The nudity was unexpected, I admit, but not unheard of, especially as I was currently in his living room. The poorer citizens in the Republic had to wear full suits to protect themselves from the environment. The middle class would usually have treatments to protect themselves and replace skin or even limbs as tissues issues arise. The incredibly wealthy, on the other hand, tended to opt for becoming cyborgs almost completely. All limbs were often replaced, if not most of the body. But with those as wealthy as Voldy, it would be hard to guess at, as silicone and polymer flesh looked almost identical to the real deal. It was rare to find a citizen of the Republic who cared so much about their physical appearance, however. Even the fake skin over cybernetics were usually just so it felt real in contact with another Duoverse user. The man sitting in front of me was now incredibly wealthy, yet he had made himself that way throughout his hard work. Growing up with your own flesh and blood seemed to have a way of making you appreciate it more. Something that I didn't have to worry about, though not due to being born with a cybernetic spoon in my mouth. There's the red nose. His skin was a patchwork of cherry-colored radiation burns and pasty pink skin grafts. The little hair he had was grey, and those piercing green eyes were instead the dull grey eyes most of us had. Half of his face was also lazy compared to the other, a clear sign of past stroke. Archibald Jimmy was a man like any other, a man who couldn't believe that so young a Legatus dared to meet his gaze so confidently. The spell was broken. This wasn't the larger-than-life Voldy who cracked wise at every and any target, reducing man and disaster alike to a punchline. It was just a man, same as me, who needed my help even if he wasn't going to admit it. I blinked twice more and smiled lopsidedly at the comedian, refusing to back down from that pulsing glare. Voldy clearly misreads this pause as he's the first to break eye contact and look pointedly at a spot on the wall to my side as he continues. I see myself as an actor nowadays, kid. Who has time to actually keep up with the news cycle anymore? If I use my own imprint to keep up with a few things, what's the big deal? There is no big deal, I agree. It's literally you writing your jokes. Most popular personalities have teams of writers and publicists as well as social media managers and agents. You using only your imprint for 30 years is frankly incredible. I reach forward and grab the small glass of water I had been presented at the beginning of the meeting and take a small sip. Bitter. Salty. I freeze in thought once again, considering the liquid I had just drank. It had a weight and taste to it that I had only experienced once or twice before in my life. Mineral water. Not the electrolyte balanced drink offered as hydration to athletes or the pure H2O that ran in our taps, but real organic mineral water that must have been sourced from some deep underground vein untouched by human contamination. Voldy just had it laying around. Incredible. It's not all that amazing, the man assured me. It's actually 3 imprints. One for the news show, one for working on specials, and one just for social media interaction. Once again, we had a miscommunication. His eyes were turned back on me, but there was a warmth to them now instead of the frost. The hard part is keeping each one from learning about the others. Why do that? I ask. They just last longer. I used to let them all know about each other, but they would always have to be rebooted in about a month. When they think I'm doing everything but their job, they usually last a year or so. Well, not the social media one. That one still gets 2 months at most, but what can you do? He says this all with a nonchalant shrug that I simply nod in response to. Imprints without some form of physical body always had a pretty short lifespan. With some physical form to interact with the world in, adaptation to life as an imprint was easier, and some could survive years if not decades. They weren't given the autonomy or rights of a human, but they could at least function in the world as machines or pets, as humanely and organically as their owners allowed. Voldy had enough money that he could easily have a whole regiment of imprints in android bodies that looked and even felt real if he so chose. Imprints of other people could be licensed rather than purchased. The original person the imprint was a copy of would receive a monthly paycheck from Mirari based on how many people currently licensed their imprints. Celebrities did particularly well off of this, with some licensing their imprints to do hourly one-on-one interaction, give a relationship experience to the client, or of course, the myriad of adult entertainment options that required expensive hardware. When it came to those that were just code, however, things became more erratic. Imprinting technology allowed imprints to feel human comforts like sleeping, eating, and the sensations of having a body, but they never quite did the trick. Digital imprints all eventually began showing signs of damage. Ferrari had been trying to overcome this limitation since the technology's inception, but so far had no luck. Imprints would begin to question things that had no answers and become frustrated with their existence. A nihilistic, agitated computer program was the last thing anyone needed to be paying for. But thankfully for users, it was an easy enough fix. Turn it off and on again. Method as old as tech support. Rebooting an imprint was a surefire way to return it to day one settings. The only problem was that you'd have to then start from scratch with their memories as well. The imprint boyfriend you had no longer recognized you. The nanny you trained so well no longer remembers how you like your house run. A copy of yourself from 3 decades ago has to be caught up on jokes you've already made to make sure they aren't telling the same jokes over and over again. They were set to the same memories they had when they were first imprinted. Does the social media one not get sleep or something? I ask. According to the file, none of the imprints had any form of physical bodies, so it's pretty weird that one is so drastically different from the others. None of them sleep, or at least not really, Baldy replies. I pay extra to have them feel like they rest to keep them going strong, but it happens instantly. Damn. I almost whistle rather than reply. Even as a Legatus who focuses on incidents involving imprints in the Duoverse, that's new to me. I'd heard of imprints being accelerated to be able to do more work in less time, but to accelerate their sleep patterns down to no time at all was game-changing. Someone in my tax bracket wouldn't be seeing that kind of technology for years, of course. Not that I even have any imprints. Plants and alcohol are more than enough companionship for me. Then, what do you think makes the social media one break down so quickly? I ask. The response I receive is a dry laugh, not at all his usual cackle during his shows. Never been on social media? My head would go splat in less than a week. His every word is punctuated with exaggerated facial expressions and hand gestures to demonstrate his head going splat. Sure enough, I hadn't had my own social media account for years. Neither the time nor the tolerance for others remained enough in me to hang on to one. Despite the Republic only having a population of 80 million, the vast majority of its citizens was near constantly active on one of the social media platforms. A barrage of images and videos detailing every last minute of every citizen's day was constantly uploaded. Despite that bread and circus, everyone was always trying to shout over one another to affirm that their viewpoint was the correct one, and showing off just how intelligent, kind, and worldly they were. Not too different from the social media today, but with less cute animals. And just to confirm, Mr. Jimmy, the imprints have been coordinating despite you rebooting all of them at the same time? Righto. You can call me Valdi, by the way. It started on social media, so we rebooted that one early. But then it was the joke on the weekly show that had a literary reference or whatever, and we rebooted it too. It was the Pulse and Shimmer code, so we rebooted all 3, thinking they must have been communicating somehow. And now there's been websites set up, messages hidden in images, references in the stand-up. It makes no sense. On the way over to Voldy's apartment, I'd read through the report carefully, and it seemed I understood the case better than the man himself. Did someone else make the report by any chance? I asked before taking another sip of water. My assistant, Catherine. Sharp as a knife, that one, in intellect and criticism. I could hear his ego deflate along with the tone of his voice mid-sentence. I could call her if you like. Thank you, that would be Catherine Dahl! Baldy was already making arrangements, clearly having made the call as soon as the thought was spoken aloud. His booming voice filled the room, allowing me to quietly sigh without causing any offense. Meeting a childhood legend is far less fun than you think. Never meet your hero, and never let them be naked in front of you. It doesn't end well for anyone. Good shit. Oh god, not the doll? Oh yeah, the fucking doll. He's one of those. He's one of those. It's fine. It's fine. We're fine here. Yeah, thank you for that, Kit Kat. Thank you, mods. If you haven't read the rules yet, do not ask me to say specific things. It won't end well for you. Is the going splat part foreshadowing? Hey, you see the trigger warnings? I don't know. We'll find out, won't we? Nah, actually, I won't spoil anything. Generally, don't worry about it, nah. Adult entertainment, huh, sus? Adult entertainment. Oh, yeah. I forgot. Yeah, that was a while ago. I'm Prince, man. I mean, shit. If you can have a copy of somebody that you literally license to own by the hour or by the month, what do you think people are going to do with that technology? Are you shitting me? Ah, that's where it goes. That's where it goes. I was writing down the moments, the moment that happened. Yeah, this one, even though it's chapter 4, it probably should have been chapter 2. It was just so long. I had to rewrite it so many times, and it's so fucking long that it kept getting pushed back further and further. Imagine the owner spoiling his own story. I mean, that's kind of what trigger warnings are, really. Unfortunately, you have to prepare people for it to let them ditch out, but at the same time, it's like, hey, this is going to happen in the story at some point. So, yeah. They use it as a helper. What do you think? They would never... Well, they would probably. I mean, shit, it even happens in Detroit. And Detroit has dark shit, but it's kind of like soft compared to other things. You look at some of the more dark cyberpunk things, and yeah, they go far worse than this. Cue the Rock eyebrow raise. Oh, I can't do that. The eyebrows barely move. Oh, man. You'll know why phone screens are big. I don't know what you mean. He says, having used a Galaxy Note because he likes the bigger screen. Legatus imprint? Oh, man. If only. He could do my writing for me. Let's fucking go. Imprints would be so fucking useful. And so fucked up. Wouldn't work out in our world. We have too much concern. Anyway. One more drink of water and we'll get back into this. Also, thank you. I did see people doing translations of things while we were reading. Holy fucking shit. Yeah, I see why you have to stop. The speed that much take. God, I'm sorry about that. Thank you for the hard work, but yeah, please do take a break. That's wild. Why does my mute button not work anymore? No, we're going on. We're going on. As soon as he was done making the call, our host had excused himself, ensuring me he had some vital work to attend to. In the Duoverse, he literally disappeared, engaging some form of privacy mode that allowed him to become invisible in his own property. I blinked twice, watching, to make sure that he actually left the room at all. The door that opened as he left revealed a lavish bed with unkempt sheets and nothing else before it. Close to behind him. Wait, what? Revealed a lavish bed with unkempt sheet and nothing else. Before it closed behind him. God damn it, Fulgur. Vital work indeed. Catherine B met me at Voldy's apartment in less than 10 minutes. This new client was far more approachable than the last. Long black hair tied into a ponytail. A simple blue suit with a matching pencil skirts and white blouse. The only striking feature about her were the bright green eyes that almost matched Voldy's. I reached out to shake her hand and felt her grip, firm yet soft to the touch. A feeling of wealth. She had cynet arms like me, but hers were covered in false flesh to give the feel of a human body. It was only thanks to the advanced sensors in my own fingertips that I could feel the mechanical movement. Otherwise, she appeared perfectly human to any outside observer. She, on the other hand, felt the cold metallic grip of my handshake and didn't bat an eye. Her gaze met mine with equally cool confidence, or perhaps indifference. My own duotar is hardly different from reality. What you see is what you get. No reason to hide my two cynet arms. In fact, they give a good warning to potential criminals that would not be easy to deal with. I'm similarly lax with hiding the implant on my throat. The implant on my throat. What? Implant? What the hell? Why? I've been writing I'm print too much. Or the dull grey eyes, which I refuse to pay extra to customize. Is it implant? Oh my god. I don't know English anymore. Shut up. It's fine. The only real difference between my uni and duotar is that I never have to worry about the way my pale skin flushes at the smallest physical exertion, how my hair always ends up in wet clumps that reveal too much of my scalp, and that my jacket is always wrinkled and at this point slightly faded from years of rough use. The pulse and shimmer also highlights the red against black that makes up my aesthetic from head to toe. Wait, the pulse and shimmer? The blink, I see my arm come to life in front of me, and reality shifts ever so slightly. Catherine B looks familiar, but not quite. Her hair is a rich auburn, still pulled back in a ponytail, but with a perfect fringe that frames her features. Her skin is as pale as Voldy's and contrasts the bold features of her almond eyes and cherry lips. Those neon green orbs are staring back at me as an eyebrow arches a little in challenge. Instantly, I release her grip and return my hand to my own lap. This woman, several years younger than me, smiles playfully as she takes a seat on the sofa, crossing one leg over the other. She thinks I was struck by her beauty. Close, but not quite. Struck by my own idiocy would be more accurate. I've never been in a room where everything was exactly the same in reality in the Duoverse. Matching designer sofas and chairs, a table made of marble in the center, walls that were unblemished by age or damage, trimmed with tiles of gold and black. Voldy spent a fortune on furnishings that almost no one would ever see. Then there was Miss B herself. For most people, their money goes into their duotar first and foremost. It's one of the reasons it's considered an invasion of privacy to view someone's uni without their permission in the Republic, and another of the many that those on the outskirts who don't view the duoverse are shunned and ostracized. Miss B must have spent a fortune in surgery and upkeep on a uni, even managing to avoid the sun most of her life. It was likely she hadn't breathed unfiltered air since birth. Even though she was called over early in the morning, she had gotten here in no time at all, looking so presentable. Moreover, her duotar really wasn't that different from a uni either. This was a woman who was wealthy beyond anything I'd ever seen, and yet strangely down to earth. Miss B, Catherine is fine. She cuts me off instantly, her voice teasing in a more youthful way than her appearance suggests. Catherine, it's a pleasure to meet you. The files give me a general idea about this incident, but could I ask you some more questions? Odie seems to think you'd know best. A flicker of something in the green there. Was it pride? I should hope so. I manage all the fools, unfortunately. Just call me the Jester Whisperer. She shrugs in the same exaggerated way as her boss, waits for a reaction that doesn't come, and continues. The Iron Prince, I mean. They can be a handful. What would you like to know? This ARG began with a post on socials. What exactly was it? A blessing! It was years since Voldy had gone viral. What do you expect with 30 years of the same material? Then that image appeared and the Republic went wild. Viewership and engagement went up all over. Catherine had gone from leaning forward to throwing her arms up in the air, and finally held one finger up in front of her face in triumph. Her personality was so different from her appearance that it was giving me whiplash. An image, then, I confirm. It was just a selfie of Voldy, right? Her painted lips twitch slightly, but the smile doesn't fade. Yuppers, it was the big man. He had a cheeseburger in his hand which was dripping with blood. The caption said, "Time for some new blood." It was pretty weird, but only really got attention once the message was found. Catherine's eyes were practically glowing as she waited for my response. And what was the message? There was a clock on the wall behind him. Analog, she continued, having earned the audience participation she so clearly needed. Pretty weird, right? It stuck out like a red nose. No one uses an antique like that anymore. True enough, I noted. The entire internet was just an eye or hand movement away. Clocks in the Republic were never needed and not in fashion like several other antiques were. The closest most people come to seeing them was on a steampunk-themed duotar. Anyway, the time on the clock was 2:18. Some commenter pointed out that the Book of Martyrs, chapter 2, verse 18 says, "Those who have come before may have sinned, but let us not repeat their mistakes or squander this what they provide." She quoted the text in a mononymous voice that mocked the preachers so easily ignored on the streets. I did that wrong, man. I fucking wrote this and I forgot that. To cap it all off, Catherine even feigned a loud snore, which I couldn't repress a chuckle at. It laughs! She pounced on the impulse immediately. I was starting to think the Legion had drones as Legati. You're more than just Voldy's assistant, aren't you? I ask, still smiling slightly. Catherine sits back in her chair. Her arms cross over her stomach as she waits in silence. Her style of speech, the way she moves, a lack of any concern when discussing important matters. It was also familiar. You've learned all of his mannerisms. He must be a huge fan. Catherine's confident pose held still as ice. Even this pose was just the same as Voldy back when he first started comedy. It was before my time, but while I was a child, my whole family had watched recorded files of his stand-up to pass the time. Nothing live, but it was something. Back then he had moved a lot more and used his whole body in his routine. Nowadays he still had the exaggerated movements, but they were limited to his face and hands, and he never made his own sound effects. Isn't everyone? She asked calmly. He was always so full of life. It was a dream come true getting this job 4 years ago. I'd only been out of the Legion a few months. It was hard to imagine the Catherine B. I saw before me during her conscription in the Legion. From 16 to 20, every citizen of the Republic served their time equally. Except for the most wealthy, who were often deemed too vital by patrons and employers who happened to be family friends. Shocking that someone as obviously wealthy as her hadn't taken the same route. She seemed lost in thought for the moment, so I took the opportunity to snap her out of it myself. That was only the first message, right, Catherine? What about the rest? Her eyes paused on me as if taking me in for the first time. Her voice, along with her eyes, had lost the spark of life as she continued. Oh, right, the fool's game. It'd be easier if I just showed you. Open up. She placed 2 fingers on the side of her neck for a moment, and a small box of light appeared in my vision. Cheshire Cat requests pairing. Allow? I nod in silence, and the box expands to take up a quarter of my vision. The image of Voldy is visible for just a second before it disappears, replaced with a paused video file of a live show. You want anything to eat, by the way? This'll be a while, and I could really go for a beef burger. I think I'm good, I reply cautiously. The way she emphasized the beef caught me by surprise. Voldy's treat. This is a business brunch after all. A confident grin is back on her face as a delivery app replaces the video and details the ridiculous prices that idiots pay for real meat. She thinks she's putting me in my place. Too bad you know nothing about me. Shameless might as well be my middle name. Sure. Throw in a milkshake and some onion rings. You got it, Legatus. I can't help glancing at the subtitle before it disappears. Meat really is murder nowadays. Real meat. Let's fucking go. Yeah, there are places they can deal with growing things. And dealing with things underground. They manage to keep some things. Milkshake! Yeah, I want one now too. God damn. I could go for some onion rings too. Onion rings are like one of my favorite foods. So bad for you, but so good. Shameless is my middle name. Feel like everything might be important to the ARG. I'm losing it. That's kind of, yeah, it's kind of the point of ARGs. I will say, I keep it limited to the blog and these streams. But the blog posts, every random blog post that feels random, yeah, still important. Every bit of backstory, gonna come up at some point. People were pointing out the Cheshire Cat thing. Want to get some now? Yeah, I might get some onion rings later. I don't know what I'd have with them though. I don't feel like a burger. I need some protein. It's almost 11 p.m. here, but damn, I want some onion rings. Shit, I'm sorry. Yeah, these 2 chapters have a lot of references to good food in them. These 2 chapters, even though it wasn't planned that way, both feature very rich people who can actually get real food. Don't worry. In the future, it will be protein bars and shakes again. Nutritional paste. It just happens. These 2 kind of fucked with us. Pizza and onion rings? I don't know about that. That's a lot of food. And pizza isn't really like clean protein. That's a lot more fat too. And a lot more carbohydrate. I need that as a Twitter banner. Fulgur Shameless Ovid. Oh man. When you stream and chat always makes people hungry. I know, right? It's like meat bun. Every time I read a meat bun novel, I'm like, damn, they describe the food so fucking well. Chicken and onion rings. You know what? That's a good idea. I haven't had fried chicken in forever. Fried chicken would be good. Oh, an idea begins to form. Thank you. Chocolate pizza? Why would chocolate pizza be any better? Fish with onion rings. You know, that's not bad. Yeah, onion rings can kind of replace chips or fries, I guess, for Americans. That works too. Ching, Fuchan, voice is very nice. I love your Legatus 505 story stream. And thank you all translators. Thank you so much for donating the food funds. Yeah, and I'm so happy. The translators have done so well. Choco pizza is pretty good though. Yeah, no, I completely understand. It's just, that's even more carbohydrates. I was just talking about the fact that, hey, if I'm going to have onion rings, I need to have some nice, clean, healthy protein with it. And then I said fried chicken. Yeah, fuck it. Fuck it. Oh, man. But we will move on with this. Thank you all for staying here. Holy shit. I didn't expect so many people would show up for story time. I've got to be honest. I always expected this would be like the same kind of thing as Disco Elysium. Very niche, very niche. So thank you for guys for sticking with me. 2 hours later, we've finally gone over the whole case and recapped the game so far. Cryptic message hidden in an image. A joke in the form of a poem where the first word of each stanza formed a sentence. Pulse and shimmer Morse code. Another image on social media, but this one had EXIF data that linked to part of a republic that had been geotagged. The messages all had similar meanings, but in different words. It was all martyrist rhetoric about doomers, the humans who lived before the fall, and how modern humanity needs to do better. That was as far as the ARG had gotten so far. What? That was as far as the ARG had gotten. You saw nothing. The geodata on the last image directed fans to a warehouse in Southeast Greater Republic, but none of the players had found another clue there yet. Consider me thoroughly pissed off, dear listener. Dear listener, you've heard me complain about those stories that make you question reality and challenge it without giving a definite answer, but this is yet another one of my pet peeves. If you're going to tell a story, then you damn well better have a plan for how it ends that can be inferred from its themes and structure. There's nothing more aggravating than finding all the pieces of a puzzle and realizing that the creator was just winging it and hadn't given you enough to infer its conclusion early on. Sure, slip in some red herrings, but we need those Chekhovian guns firing on all cylinders too. Catherine assured me that I had all the information that either she or the group of fans playing along with the ARG knew so far. Moreover, both her and Voldy had assured me there wasn't any tampering with Voldy's imprints that could have allowed them to perform a coordinated effort like this while being rebooted. I'm happy for you to talk to the fools, Catherine offered once we'd gone over all the clues. Big Man and I both tried asking what they're up to when the new clue is discovered, but they play dumb no matter how many times we ask. A recording is played through my eyes of Voldy from another time. It's still the same look as his current duotar, but the colors are more muted, his hair longer and lashes more full. Duotars don't age, so those that like one basically don't age in the Duoverse. God damn it. Oh god! Those that like one basically don't age in the Duoverse. His past look was simply more youthful and cute. Fashion trends had changed while the man himself had stayed the same. I hear Catherine's voice ask about the geodata and see the imprint perform a familiar exaggerated shrug. From Catherine's shorter perspective, the shrug looks even more dramatic and a little intimidating. I read over 600 comments an hour and respond to 5% of them while planning 4 social media posts a day and reading every piece of criticism and meme that is posted my way. Do you really think that I have the time to play games within that? The Voldy imprint finishes the response with a hearty laugh that sounds hoarse and tired by the time he finishes. 3 more kids just told me to kill myself while we've been talking. You think I can get back to my adoring fans now? You still haven't rebooted that one? I ask, a little worry creeping into my voice subconsciously. He's at the end of his rope, Catherine confirms my suspicion without emotion. 2 months working social media with no breaks would do that to you. The fans love the interaction, though. His bants are getting even more cutting. We would have retired him a few days ago, but then the picture came from him, so we'll keep him going until the investigation is through. Just let me know if you want to interrogate him. I shake my head resolutely. I'd rather check out the warehouse first and see if I can find anything myself. In 2 large gulps, I finish the little banana milkshake left in my cup and stand up. It was a joy meeting you, Catherine. I'll let you know what I find. She stands, smooths her skirt out with a tug of her fingers, and then leads me to the door.
Legatus.
Can't wait. Don't wear yourself out there. A single chuckle escapes my lips on the way out the door. It's not easy for anything to escape me on a job. Maybe you should be writing his jokes, I tease. The elevator doors close so fast behind me that I almost lose my heel. I meant it as a compliment. What's wrong with cringy puns? I think we'll just charge through on this one. It's early afternoon as I arrive at the warehouse and the sun is scalding. Normally I'd hardly notice how intense the sun was, only feeling its glare for a few seconds between my car and the next shielded building. Unfortunately, this ARG was just as viral as Catherine had said, and all the underground parking as well as several rows of outdoor lot were taken up by other players. The second my arm pushed open the door of my car, an alert flashed to life in my eyesight. I blink it away, well aware that I need to seek shelter, and jog to the building with two metal hands shading my face as best they could. The warehouse, located far from the center of the Republic, was just that. It served no additional purpose other than storage and distribution, and as such, the company that owned it had gone with the simplest look it could in the Duoverse. From the outside, it was simply a box made out of light. While I was approaching, it had displayed a message that storage containers were available at low prices for a limited time. And now as I rushed into its shade, it was advertising Nix umbrellas. Strong enough to turn even the midday sun to night! Can't imagine how insulting the targeted advertisements feel for those who don't pay for an advertisement-free experience. Inside, the warehouse is flooded with a slow trickle of Republic citizens, mingling in little groups and wandering around. Some of them have Voldy-themed avatars with porcelain skin, crimson lips, and verdant hair. The rest are the usual personalized styles that get repurposed for each individual's unique personality. Demons with red or blue skin and horns to match. Animal hybrids with varying degrees of furriness. Mascot characters that were hardly human at all. And then, of course, the always beautiful, average-looking people. If they had any blemishes, then they only added to the look, from well-positioned scars to tiny beauty marks in specific shapes. These were the average citizens of the Republic. Given the tools to look any way they wanted to, they chose to mostly appear like a cosplay convention, Renaissance fair, and cyberpunk LARP got scheduled at the same venue. The wealthier citizens even had effects on their duo-avatars that allowed them to leave trails behind them, burn like fire, shine like ice, or glow like stars. Imagine VR chat with hyper-realistic graphics. It takes some getting used to, but it sure makes life interesting. I had half a mind to blink and return to the universe, but one thing made me stick with the distracting Duoverse. The smell. I had no clue how long this flock of fans had been in the atrium, had held the atrium of this warehouse hostage, but with how many there were in such a small enclosed space, there was no chance I was switching back to reality. Perhaps changing one sense at a time is something I should ask the professor to look into. He sees my current modifications as illegal enough, but if he were to witness this lack of human hygiene, he might reconsider. Ooh, a Legatus! Some sort of animal girl exclaims as she looks me over. I may be a detective, but you look at a girl with fluffy, pointy ears and a tail and tell me for certain what type of cat, fox, lion, or dog, etc. it is. Looks like we'll have to sniff out the trail fast, Wolfpack. The Legion is on our tail, and we won't have them taking our prey. She's in full performance mode, touching the tip of her nose with one finger and posing with it to the side, before spinning around to show off her tail for a virtual camera that I can't see. Another fun feature of the Duoverse, everything is virtual, so entertainers like the, I assume, Wolf Girl here can get the perfect angle for their live streams and recordings. While on duty, my duotar is unable to be recorded, instead appearing in the stream as a black silhouette with a red outline. That doesn't stop her from posing alongside me before I push past. Several other citizens in the sea of bystanders have similarly twisted their backs towards me and begun narrating to an unseen audience. So much for keeping this a quiet investigation. A lanky man with a perfectly spherical afro rushes over to me as I'm still considering where first to start inspecting. He has a clipboard and pen at the ready as he sputters out. If you want to stay, you need to at least pay for something. Could I offer you a storage locker or a container? We have the best security in the southeast and long-term payment plans you need to lock down today. The entire speech came out in one overworked breath before he finally took a deep inhale and looked me over. His eyes zigzag from left boot to right hand, the left arm, and finally at the insignia on my chest. Everywhere his eyes zoomed saw black, red, and white, finally ending with him looking me in the steely grey eyes. "Oh, Legatus, are you here on official business?" he asks, seeing me for the first time. "Unfortunately. I'll just be taking a look around. Nothing serious. I take it you've heard about the ARG." "Of course. Mixed blessing it is. I've earned more this week than I have in the last year, but it's been hectic as all hell." He wiped his seemingly clear face with a sleeve that came away damp. Either he was too poor to afford a duotar that reacted to the elements, or he had it set to hide his sweat. It reaffirms my suspicion that it would have been terrible actually smelling this room. "I don't get old Voldy, though. He doesn't rent anything here. Why he chose this as a location as a game is beyond me." "Of course you don't," a smug voice chimed in from behind. A short man swaggered out from behind the employee and rested a skinny elbow on his shoulder. "Only real fans understand the importance of this place." Each syllable oozed with the weight of self-entitlement and unearned confidence. Staring at the man. Possibly boy. His looks certainly fit. Dark green hair slicked back against his head. Pure white skin with a bright yellow set of painted lips. His outfit was a one-for-one replica of Voldy's, but blue instead of purple. "Nice cosplay," I say, realizing he needs some input from me to continue. The clowns all seem to. What follows is several seconds of silence as the warehouse employee looks between us before shuffling out from under the man's weight and backing away through the crowd with a muffled, "Oh, damn circus." "Thanks. It's a one-of-a-kind, you know. The duo Voldy wore in his early years. Cost me a fortune." His confidence seemed shaking at first, but he quickly came back to himself, flicking up the collar of the blue suit. "Voldy had a non-fungible auction?" I asked, surprised that someone as wealthy as he would sell parts of his history. "The man is attached to his own rotting skin." "Oh yeah, this, tons of art. He even had imprints to rent back in the day," the man exclaims, lifting 4 fingers into the air in each hand, split in the middle, in what I assume meant V for Voldy? Right. Not even his biggest fan here knows that those imprints still exist. They're just not available for fans to rent anymore. "He auctioned off a ton of stuff from his startup days during his bout of alcoholism and cancellation. His duo is just one of the treasures floating around on the net from that period." "What do you mean about real fans knowing the importance of this place? Did Voldy work here before becoming a comedian or something?" I guess, fishing for a concise answer instead of another flex. "Close, but not quite, Legatus. No, this humble abode wasn't his place of work before becoming a comedian, but it's not surprising that you're unaware." And there he goes. I wonder if he'd be less talkative with a hand around his throat. "There aren't even recordings of the performance after all. Only stories. Legends." The man has come to another flamboyant pose, one eyebrow raised well above the other like a perfectly curved tilde extending the silence. Apparently, Voldy gave his first ever performance here, see? He rented out a whole floor of the warehouse and invited a ton of people. One just happened to have the money and connections to make his next debut a real headliner event. Clowning the Fools, his first masterpiece. That one I knew. I'd always thought that Clowning the Fools was Voldy's first ever performance. It went viral because then nobody appeared out of nowhere with a 2-hour stand-up roast of not only other comedians he deemed scared of the public and sanitized. I ran out of breath there, 1 second. But also several praetors and other celebrities. Who knew that his first hadn't even been recorded? Oh, no. That can't be right either. Everything was recorded. Even 40 years ago, when eyes were only visual and cutting-edge technology, everybody had headsets. They must have brought all the footage up and made sure there were no copies floating around the net. Had Voldy said something that had to be hidden from the public? I ponder this new development silently as his biggest fan continues spewing love for Voldy. If there was anyone to ask. Legends? I interrupt the man's clearly rehearsed monologue, stunning him into what may be his first ever silence. What do the stories about Voldy's performance here? What do the stories say about Voldy's performance here? It's pretty wild that no one has any recordings, right? The man's face lights up with glee, pride reigniting his love for an audience. A feast for the senses, he announces with Shakespearean gravitas. He had the whole crowd dying with laughter and contemplating their own place in the world. It's been said that it was even better than Clowning the Fools, with more biting commentary, more theatrics, and more Voldy! Another double V appeared on the fan's fingers as he nodded rhythmically in a trance. Anything connected to modernism by any chance? My question snaps him out of his daydream and back to boring reality. They existed? Whoops. They existed back then? No clue. But no one cares enough to mention... Wait. Is that what all this is? The fan's voice has become a shriek that manages to cut through the roaring chorus in the atrium. Legatus, you're a genius! It's a new stand-up special on those martyrist freaks. He's going back to his roots and doing a full special on one topic. I wonder if they'll record it here. I need to post this immediately. Do you mind if I take a picture? Before I've even raised a hand or refused his request, his eyes have flashed gently, and a shudder sound echoes around the now quiet room. Oh, privacy settings. Right, makes sense. Could you turn him? I push past the clown and head through the sea of Voldy fans now murmuring in little groups and recording messages for social media. It takes a painfully long minute, but I finally see the lanky employee from before, typing away at a virtual desktop in the corner. Clipboard floating next to him in the virtual air. Excuse me. Yes, just a minute. We're just freeing up some old space. And how may I... Oh, Legatus. Sorry, sir. What can I help you with? The monitor and keyboard flash away as the overworked employee lifts his wrists off the desk. I was wondering if you could do a quick search through your records. Midway through the sentence, I realize that the buzzing room behind me has fallen silent. Doesn't take a detective to realize that every word is being feasted on by the dozens of flies on the walls. I sigh before lifting my eyebrows and touching 2 fingers to the side of my neck. A nod of my head sends the message to the employee who connects to my network the same way Catherine had earlier. I need to find anyone who has rented an entire floor of the warehouse. The man, Joseph Velox, if his DV name is to be believed, hears my voice loud and clear even though I speak no words. Clearly unused to II interface messaging, he simply nods back in response, and 3 names and their floors appear in my eyesight. Now, just think of II interface messenger as Discord, but with 4 of the 5 senses possible methods of communication. The service caught on a while ago, but it's still a little uncomfortable to some users, allowing other people access into parts of their sensory data. No need to take a look at all 3 of the results. A disembodied grin flashes in my mind as I see the final name in the list. Catherine B. didn't even bother using an alias to rent her boss's next performance space. The pair had just led a Legatus on a pointless pursuit. That was a crime, but it was one that would only carry a fine for someone as well regarded as Voldy. A hefty fine for any normal person that would be roughly what he spent on me and Catherine's burgers. Another sigh escapes my lips as I unpair with Velox. I really should start charging the Legion per psi at this point. Thanks for the cooperation, I say, crossing the room to a nearby elevator and thumbing the up button. The warehouse is abuzz with excited chatter as Voldy's fans eye me cautiously, and more than a few surround the already overworked Velox with questions. What the hell? How did that slip through? Legatus, what did you find? It's the man wearing Voldy's lost duo who has the courage to join me at the elevator. I helped you out, right? Come on, let a bro in on your next clue. I stepped into the elevator and pressed the button for Catherine and Voldy's floor, turning back to face the informant. Just think about what you told me about martyrism, I respond coldly. Really put yourself in Voldy's headspace when he was desperate and selling that duo of yours. I'm sure you can do that, and you'll see what I did. The man is beaming with joy as I finish giving him the hint. I must have just complimented him. I suggested he could be similar to Voldy. Of course he didn't see what I was actually saying. One of Voldy's biggest fans, yet he talks with such pride about feasting on what was almost corpse of his career when he fell off. You're going to have a fun time trying to connect any of that to martyrism. I certainly can't. Martyrism is an extremist offshoot of apologists. Apologists themselves are just a bunch of different philosophical groups that survived into the Republic. Individually, each group only has a few thousand members in their congregations, and there's certainly no crackdowns or laws against any of them. Of course, the deeds that Doomers and indeed megacity founders did to survive in the current world go against many doctrines, as do so many of the technologies that allow the Republic to flourish. It was only after Republic citizens, supported of course by rich corporations who provide those technologies apologists so hate, began ridiculing and ostracizing all of them as one group of apologist zealots, that modernism was conceived. To grossly oversimplify, moderists believe that Doomers, those who lived before the fall of civilization and the formation of megacities and biodomes, have done so much bad to the planet that we, their descendants, all of humanity, must die for their sins and allow the planet to heal without us. Moderist cells will occasionally try to make a name for themselves with violent acts against the Republic, but so far have been a small nuisance compared to the amount of attention they receive. Corporations and the Legion like to make them out to look worse than they are, as they've certainly a threat, but in doing so they rallied more apologists and unaffiliated citizens to their cause, and strengthened the idea of them being a rebellion in the making. If modernism had anything to do with Voldy's ARG marketing for his next show, I had no idea how it fit, but using the Book of Martyrs, their manifesto and his hints, certainly did work to make the Republic more interested in what he was up to. The 84th floor of the warehouse was more confirmation that this had all just been a marketing ploy. The entire area was open plan and unremarkable. While it pulsed and shimmered with the light of the Duoverse, there was no real design other than its purpose of open storage. Someone had gone to a great deal of trouble arranging hundreds of chairs into a makeshift audience, all facing one wall of the room. I wandered aimlessly among the empty pews, which would later be filled with the congregation currently in the atrium, along with many more. I had no doubt that Voldy would try to make this all up to me with my very own VIP seat. Not exactly the reward I would have asked for, but who would say no to seeing one of their childhood legends live? As a legally obligated witness, no less. Fun. 2 fingers on the button at my neck made the call to Voldy. He answered on the 5th ring, voice still groggy from the important work he had left me for in the morning. Olga? Oh, I didn't expect to hear from you so soon. Have you solved our little imprint problem? What was it? I solved it, I reply, managing to keep my frustration out of my tone. I still need to know how you managed to control the speed of the pulse and shimmer. There was a moment of silence, followed by rustling of what I assume were his sheets. Isn't that your job? I thought you'd solved it. Ask whoever it was yourself. Enough. This time the frustration did fill my voice. I found the warehouse all set up for your next show. You're the one who was controlling the ARG, not any imprints. There's a pause of several seconds as I hear liquid pouring in the background. What warehouse? Kid, I am a busy man, and that sounds like an accusation. Do I need to call your praetor and get a new Legatus? I damn near screamed out loud at his dismissive tone, but instead took a deep breath and gritted my teeth. The warehouse where you performed your first ever stand-up. I found the floor that Catherine rented along with the seating. At this point, I'm gesturing with my left arm as if he can see any of this. Perhaps I'm the one becoming too used to IIM. Oh. I see. Voldy sounds like he's finally waking up, and I hear shifting and footsteps as he clearly makes his way out of bed. You found Catherine's setup. Sharp as a knife, like I said. Didn't expect it to happen so fast. He sounds fully awake now, but also distracted. He's sad, barely hiding it. Something more than just being found out. There's no way he's so worried about the punishment after he called the Legion. Well done, kid. I'll call Chroma and let her know that you exceeded all of my expectations. Just keep this warehouse thing between the 3 of us, okay? I'll pay whatever fine I have to for wasting the Legion's time, and I'll prepare something special for you. Just wait till you see what... Mr. Jimmy. I cut in. He freezes mid-sentence and for once lets the silence hold as I continue. I still need to know about the pulse and shimmer. How did you control it? I'll tell you in a few days, okay, kid? His voice is regaining its confidence with each word. It really isn't that big of a deal. How about you come by my place on Wednesday and we'll talk about it over dinner? I can't close the case until I find out. I can be over in a little over and... I'll pay whatever fee the Legion wants for the next few days. Just take a holiday, kid. Tell you what, I'll send you a few thousand creds and make sure... And you have a good one. Oh, and what happened to that confidence? No more sadness. Now it sounds like fear, and I can practically smell it. A little over an hour, Voldy. I'll see you soon. I hear some protest on the other side as I disconnect the call. I'd thought everything was coming together, but it seemed that even Voldy wasn't aware of this whole story. Bribing sus? Bribing super sus. Sugar daddy. I mean, he has the money. He has the money. And Legatus has already seen him naked, so I mean... Yo! Can't believe you guys are still doing translating. Yo, love you too. You're doing amazing work. Holy shit. That day. Don't type it out like Hugo. I literally read that in Hugo's voice. Trying to bribe a cop, huh? Not the best idea, but I mean, if you have enough money, you can bribe the entire force. Don't forget to drink and breathe. Oh yeah, no worries. I mean, that was the problem. The last section where I had asterisks, the last chunk was just so short. There was no point in like pausing. And this one was huge. We're almost at the end now. We're about 3/4 of the way through this story. So don't worry about it. And then we might have one more thing to do. Or we might not. Depends on how you guys did this last few weeks. Glucose Guardian. Hell yeah. I want to translate so I can understand your lore. You're so sweet. Thank you. Please take a break if you need to. I read this quite quickly. Breathing is important. Breathing is important. If you don't breathe, you die. So is hydration. Hydrate before you dihydrate. Breathe before you decease. Breathe before you decease. Doesn't quite work. It's a half rhyme. We tried. An attempt was made. More angst. Always more angst. Always, always, always more angst. Dihydrate. Yoli. No, stop laughing at me. Listening to you read a novel was a real treat. I really enjoy listening to your voice. Thanks for the new chapter. Thank you, Yoli. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Of course breathing is important. You'd think so. People die when they die. People die when they are killed. That's what I meant. God, I can't say anything today. Chairkind. I didn't realize how much I missed your Legatus voice until I heard it again. Really loving this story so far. I'm glad to hear it, Chairkind. I think it also does work a lot better. It was actually Ailsail who was brave enough to comment to me and say, hey, stop using the fucking Legatus voice the whole way through. It's monotonous and boring as fuck.
Legatus.
Not in those words. But thank you, Ailsail, for basically saying, hey, just use it when you actually need the Legatus voice. That definitely like makes it stand out a bit more and more relaxed. Don't out me like this, man. It was useful information. I went back and you were right. Like, just reading in Legatus voice, he doesn't put much emotion in. He tries to keep all emotion out of his body, other than snarky cynicism. So yeah, his voice is very monotonous, so thank you. I love the Legatus voice. The Legatus voice is good in small doses. I think even in just the 25-minute like intro video I did way back in the day, it was enough to like turn a lot of people off, which is fair. Yeah. I can't do like a proper sexy, breathy Geralt of Rivia kind of voice. I could hire that guy though. He's who I'd get to do Legatus voice. Lettuce voice. Lettuce voice. Okay. You guys ready to jump back into this? Love today's reading style. Yeah, it's a lot more relaxing, especially with how long this chapter is. Me, you actually liked the voice? Nothing wrong with liking the voice. It's just, yeah, it's more special this way with just little small chunks of it. Doing that the whole stream, yeah, it made it a bit boring. How dare you, Burger King foot lettuce. We get back into this. Oh, right. Yeah, you guys were saying. You guys were saying, oh, it's probably about to get very sussy. Wow. There we go. Voldy's apartment tower feels more foreboding as I approach it this time. It's late afternoon, and the sun is already setting in the duoverse, casting the pristine tower in contrasting orange and black. Each floor of the building seems to have allowed its leaseholder slight control of its appearance in the duoverse. The whole thing is polished stone, but different colors and patterns make up each one, selected by their owners. Up at the top were the 2 floors of Voldy's penthouse in green and purple, more audacious on the outside than the refined look within. Despite all of the different looks, there was one fact that cemented the entire building. Pulling into the parking garage underground, I'm greeted by 3 cameras and 2 layers of thick metal gates that wait for me to call an apartment or use my authorization code. How many automated turrets are currently aimed at me, I was unaware of, but the answer was certainly higher than 1. On the way in, I had punched in Voldy's code and awaited his authorization from above, but this time I say confidently, Fulgur Ovid, Legatus Division 505. The 2 layers of metal gates slide up and down respectively like the jaws of a giant with an overbite, and I make my way forward to park and take the elevator to the brain of the beast. Several seconds of calming elevator music later, the doors open to the living room I had met Voldy in earlier. Unlike the calm and warm welcome I had been met with before, I was now greeted with shouting that quickly became hushed whispers. Legatus, I didn't hear you buzz up. Voldy's voice quickly found the strained confidence he managed to over the phone. He and Catherine were sat around the marble table, both unable to hide their annoyance. I didn't want to bother you. You knew I was coming after all, and you are such a busy man. He winced at the comment and looked a few times between Catherine and myself. I can wait if you'd like to finish your conversation, I offer. No, we can deal with this first. You want to know about the ARG, right? Catherine can help you with anything you'd like to know. Catherine let out a frustrated sigh that was halfway to a growl before turning her furious great gaze on me. Her voice had lost the joy it had this morning as she simply asked, What do you want to know? The 3rd clue. You hid a message in the pulse and shimmer. That isn't meant to be possible. It isn't illegal per se, but it's peculiar. How did you do it? Her painted lips twitched as she audibly clicked her tongue. No clue, Legatus. She held her hands up with the palms facing each other. I paid a guy to make it happen. He did his job and went on his way. Not good enough. I need to know who and how he did it. For fuck, I found him on an anonymous, unlisted website. I can get you the link, but the payment was untraceable, and I doubt he answers questions. What does it matter? That was where I hit my limit. These clowns had been all smiles when they thought they were in control, but the masks slipped as soon as life caught up with them. I slammed the bottom of the fist in my fist into the table, a sound echoing throughout the room with its own weight as I continue speaking, my own voice lowers an octave. I don't give a fuck about your petty squabbles, whether he likes your marketing strategy, the idea of him doing another show in his premier location, or the fact that you lied to him about the Iron Prince doesn't matter to me. Quit taking your butthurt out on me and pretend to be as helpful as you were this morning. It's not his show, it's mine, Catherine moans as she leans back in her chair. I want this on the record. I've been writing most of his material for the last 2 years. He has no right to stop me going solo. Voldy gasped and jumped out of his chair immediately, fists clenching tight as he tried to keep his own voice steady. I wasn't stealing her material. She was feeding it to me without telling me it was her. I swear, I thought it was the Iron Prince. My mouth is hanging agape in silence as the pair continue to squabble back and forth. I'd put together the fact that Voldy didn't know about Catherine's plans based on his reaction during our call. This was otherwise unexpected. You've been writing his material and saying it came from the Iron Prince? I asked Catherine. The only answer I receive is a solemn nod. Then the ARG was also set up by you and not Voldy. The warehouse is going to be your debut. Is it so hard to believe? She screams, rising out of her chair to meet my stare. Voldy here is afraid of his audience. He has been for decades. That's why he just gets on the stage and performs jokes written by others. I write the jokes. I see the comments. I'm not afraid of the people hating me. Catherine sat back down in a chair, crossing one leg over the other, and looking away from both me and Voldy. Glancing over at Voldy, he's still staring at his assistant, but with concern and pain etched clearly on his features to replace the anger from before. Well, I won't be getting any answers until this drama unfolds, so let's deal with the circus, shall we? Stage fright? I asked, doing my best to create a soothing tone. Voldy looks directly at me, then away quickly, and finally down at his own hands, fidgeting with the skin of his fingernails. More than that. His voice is almost a whisper in response. The big man Voldy, who had mocked the Republic for decades, now shrunk back in his chair, looking like a deflated party balloon. PTSD. It was early into my career. I made a joke about Jessica Aranea. She was CEO of Mirari at that time. They were pushing through legislation to make it illegal to view someone's uni without their permission. It was no secret that Aranea was more Cynet than flesh at that point. Covering Cynets in fake flesh wasn't in fashion then, but her duo made her look all flesh. I just meant that she was cold-hearted. More machine than man. It was a play on words. She was basically making it illegal to be poor. It was just a joke. Catherine had calmed down now and reached over to pat a hand on Voldy's knee. I've been telling you that nobody blames you, old man. They did. They should. Voldy began to make quiet, muffled sobs as he moved to a wall and touched a tile which opened up to reveal a fridge. As he began preparing a pitcher of mineral water from a fancy-looking bottle, I stared off into space, ignoring Catherine's penetrating gaze. A search for Jessica Aranea appeared within my eyesight. The first result was all it took. An encyclopedia article on Jessica Aranea listed her early life, career, philanthropy, followed by death and aftermath in the contents. Suicide. Voldy's joke had gone viral and been followed up by a leak of Aranea's uni, clearly taken without her knowledge. That only led to more ridicule and memes being created. She held out for a few months, expecting it to come to an end like most jokes do. But every time she came back up in the news, she was being harassed with a new wave of taunts. She took her own life and was found in her home by the Legion when she hadn't shown up for work. Mirari Industries did their best to use the suicide in their lobbying against viewing people's unis, citing it as an example of the harm done by breach of privacy. But the legislation still failed. Voldy got cancelled after she committed suicide, Catherine notes quietly. He began drinking himself to death, sold most of his estate, and was on his way to joining the Tin Woman. Voldy audibly sobs at one of the many terms he had used to refer to Aranea as Catherine thunders on. He found a way to come back from the brink, though. The imprints? I ask. Bingo! Catherine points finger guns at me, having returned to her usual expressive self. It seems the big man is fine doing the jokes as long as he doesn't have to write them. That's all he does now. He doesn't write, doesn't go near a comment section or review. He just performs the routine written out by Voldy from before the comment sections tore him to pieces. Oh, and my material, which I'm ready to take solo. Catherine doesn't even seem to understand that it wasn't the fans that broke Voldy, but rather that he himself blames his joke for Aranea's suicide. She's much more cut out for this than he is. Cheshire Cat gonna be your stage name? It's a work in progress. That or Chatty Cathy. As she says this, her duotard flashes from Voldy-inspired to a more youthful and laid-back cat girl with a huge grin and tan skin, then a more dignified-looking woman, basically like her current duotard but with purple eyes, blonde hair, and no clown makeup. Uh-oh, what just happened? Oh god! I thought I clicked! Oh no. Hold on. Hold on. Shit, this is such a dark part. No. Fine, we won't change that. Depends on whether I decide to go for stand-up focus or news comedy style. Sorry. Voldy touches 2 fingers to his neck, and a pitcher rises up from the compartment on the table along with 3 glasses. He fills one for himself, placing the pitcher back in the center for any of us to take. I have to blink twice to confirm what my eyes are seeing, and yes, even out of the duoverse, there are wedges of lemon and lime that have been unceremoniously dumped into the water. Another search appeared in my eyesight. 6 years. It takes 6 years for a lemon tree to bear fruit. 8 to 10 for a lime. The underground greenhouses the Republic runs usually work at all times to grow the simplest of crops for the average citizen's nourishment. Privately owned ones, on the other hand, still devote so much time to this. Rich people really live different lives. I don't mind you going solo. You lied to me, though. You made us reboot those imprints time and time again for no reason. Can't you imagine what that must feel like? Voldy had already filled his glass and takes a solemn sip. He's staring patiently at Catherine, who just clicks her tongue again before turning on me. Now you see why I added the martyrism references, right? I open my mouth silently and simply twist my head side to side in confusion. Oh, come on. He's acting like the imprints are people. Like things said on the web matter. He's practically a doomer at this point. I looked to Voldy, who is currently wearing the expression of a disappointed father. With the white and red complexion, I can't help but find it funny. Soir bleu. To the side, Catherine, currently Chatty Cathy, is pouting with both her arms and legs crossed up on the sofa. Then there's me, blank-faced and really only wanting this conversation to end along with the case. Keep it neutral. I don't have a horse in this race. The pair had wasted the Legion's time, which would net them both a fine, but clearly neither had any issue with money. Voldy was fine with letting Catherine go solo and didn't seem particularly mad that she used his platform to practice and market her debut. He even tried to protect her from being found out by me at the end. Their only issue was a personal one. Difference of generations. Voldy cared about the actions of his fans as if they were ramifications of his own, and even sympathized with imprints, data and code, ones and zeros. Catherine just seemed disappointed with the father figure in her life. Might have wanted to reveal everything whenever she debuted and expected him to be proud of her when she did. Does it matter? I asked earnestly. Voldy, you still care about Catherine, right? Hell, you'll probably help her with her debut. He nods at me, turning to Catherine. And Catherine, you still care about Voldy. Her eyes narrow and she opens her mouth to argue, but I simply raise a hand, continuing. If you didn't care, you wouldn't be so concerned with his response to your game. You might not like everything he does, but you certainly give a damn about his opinion of you. She pouts again, looking away for a second as she nods in confirmation. Then can you please stop fighting for long enough to send me everything you have on the hacker who helped you with the Pulse and Shimmer? My job is done. I just file the report, you pay the fine, and I'll leave you two to make up. Can't file the report. Catherine has uncrossed her arms and is leaning forward, looking between me and Voldy. After a pause, she continues, alarmed. Report all of this and it'll get to the media. No one will show up to my debut. A chuckle escapes me as I turn to Voldy for some support, but he offers me none. Can you just say I was the culprit for everything? Catherine will give you all you need, kid. The Legion doesn't need to be bored with the details. He's giving me a pleading look, eyes wide, and those crimson lips pouting like a child's. Suddenly, I'm the bad guy? Why does trying to stay neutral make you everyone's punching bag? Leaving out a large chunk in the report won't do any harm as the issue has already been solved. Hell, 505 shouldn't have even been dispatched for this petty drama. Imprints and Duoverse had nothing to do with it. What the Legion doesn't know can't hurt them. Can it? What should I do, dear listener? Do I call in the clowns and file the report? That's a long one. Or do I laugh it off and leave out Catherine's part? You're the judge. You decide. Oh, both of these are actually pretty long. Damn. I did good on this writing. No wonder it took me for... No, not adoption. Shit. Ignore this. People are going to press this. I know they are. Shit. I can't get rid of it. Ask your community. Ignore that one. Ignore the third one. The third is not an option. If ignore this wins, I'm actually ending this stream. I'm not ending the stream. I won't say that. If the third one wins, I'm going to be very disappointed. Okay. Why do you do this to us? For fun. This is how I get my kicks. Most of the time, it's me making choices in games and you guys shouting at me. Remember what happened to fucking Kara and Alice, my first run through? How much you guys made me fucking cry? Yeah, bring it the fuck on. Oh, you guys are going for file the report. Holy shit. Let's discuss. You don't get any time to discuss. You get to just decide. We are a democracy here. We let people go. 50-50? No, it's 59 file the report. Is this your revenge for April Fools? Yeah, sure. Very much so. This is fun. Chat, no. Down to clown. Everyone's just like, fuck it. Pain. Angst. Drama. I like this. I like this. We've gone the darkest route so far. We are going to have like full-on blood covering Legatus by the end of this read-through. Not this read-through. By the end of Legatus's journey. Oh, you guys have no idea. We could leave it be. We need the angst. We're edgelords. What do you expect? I'm the same way. Don't even get me wrong. That's the thing. That's why I can't play Disco Elysium on stream anymore. Like, it's going to be fine with the other game. Detroit Become Human. I'm looking forward to doing that dark run. It's going to be fun. Because that one, I know where it goes. Disco Elysium fucking terrifies me to do on stream, like, in a serious fucked up way. I would be graduated immediately. We need pain to feel anything. And we're here just to suffer. Go on, hurt me more. Okay. File the report has 1. Call in the clowns. I should have just called that send in the clowns. Why does call in the clowns go any different?
Legatus.
Man, fuck myself. All my homies hate Legatus. Okay, we're ending the poll. We're filing the report. I'm kidding. Don't worry. I'm kidding. That's what I mean. That's why we're not doing Disco Elysium anymore. I like this job too much to completely fuck myself up. Ignore this. We're going to read this in a second. It has to be exposed. Okay. Trigger warnings. Pay attention to them. The silence hangs in the air for what feels like an eternity to the pair in front of me. It comes to an end as I touch 2 fingers to the terminal on my neck and confirm the sending of a detailed report. The Legion doesn't have time to clown around like you two do. I've wasted enough of my time. As I finish speaking, I see the pair react to a flashing notification in their eyes. Before I fully stood up, Catherine has pounced on me, clearing the distance between us instantly and slapping me with that powerful cyborg hand of hers. Fuck you, wolf! Crawl back to your pack! The resulting sting hurt. It was nothing compared to what she could have done with a punch. Voldy is out of his chair too and waving his hands in front of his chest. She didn't mean that. You don't have to. Sort of a Legatus! Catherine was halfway to the door when she spins in spot to glare at me. Her entire body is twitching in rage at the notification she can only see. That one's automatic thanks to your expensive Synets, I confirm. A chorus of swear words follows as Catherine slams the elevator call button with her palm. If she has any sense, she'll be heading directly to the barracks to turn herself in as suggested by her eyes. 6 months is the minimum sentence, but it will increase if she does anything else stupid. You can both rot in hell. I told you not to call the Legion, but you just wouldn't listen. When I get out, my debut will be all about how pathetic you are. In the elevator now, she transforms into the Cheshire Cat duotard and hits a button. The last I see of her is a full-body gesture of what she thinks of me. Both middle fingers held high in the air as the elevator doors close and I'm left standing in awkward silence with Voldy. My childhood idol, Voldy. He's staring at the elevator doors with tears welling up in his eyes. As I make my way over and press the same call button gently, he calls out to me. Legatus! Tears choking back the rest of the sentence. I turn my head to the side, but don't quite look at him. Thank you for your service. Stepping into the elevator, a calming sigh escapes my lips as I punch the 4th parking level and turn to bid Voldy farewell. He's already turned away from me and touched another tile on the wall. It opens up to reveal a single bottle of some dark liquid. It looks expensive and old. 30 years if my detective instincts are on point. The life of a Legatus doesn't tend to stick to a fixed routine. It's 8 p.m., 5 days since the long day I spent being fooled by Cat. I'm marching down the halls of Dormitory Building 13, my home. The 71st floor is where I, along with many other members of the Legion, rest between shifts. The night has been routine so far. Hunted down an imprint. Some rich forward put into his expensive sex doll. He was her first victim. A few bruises litter my stomach and chest, as well as a steady flow of blood straining my shirt as it drips from the corner of my mouth. Thick thighs save lives, but when they're made of steel, they can really make you squeal. What snaps me out of the routine is a small purple box left unceremoniously outside my door. I pick it up, stepping into my apartment as the door opens in response to my arrival. There's a card taped to the side, which I flip open and read carefully. Legatus, thanks again for all your efforts yesterday. I heard from the Praetor you love 2 things. Hope this will bring those worlds together. Enjoy it while you can. And come by tonight for a real drink. Vody. Yesterday, I wonder. Must have taken a while for this to get here. Or he just forgot to send it for a few days? Regardless, 2 things. I stare suspiciously at the box, wondering what could it be. What does the Praetor think that I like? Retrieving a knife from my toolbox, I carefully sever the tape holding the top of the box closed. There's a waft of a familiar scent that instantly brings to mind calming memories. Jinn? She does know me. I take the box over to the kitchen unit and flip it open, expecting an expensive bottle. What greets me instead is a mess of spiky green leaves bulging to the edges of their purple prison. I rip open the 4 sides of the box to expose the whole gift and find that I've been given a tiny tree in a jet black pot of soil. A plastic slip punched into the dirt tells me it's Juniperus communis compressor, a dwarf juniper tree. I stare in disbelief for a solid minute before finally thinking to search how much a healthy tree like this would cost. Huh? It's more than I make in a year. More than some make in a lifetime. I walk the luxury over to my bedroom and open up the large black and red safe beside my bed. Inside are 3 other plants, all luxuries of their own, but nothing compared to their new roommate. Over the years, I've ended up working for many incredibly wealthy individuals. Due to this, a detective who lays paycheck to paycheck, barely supporting his drinking and entertainment habits, has somehow acquired a hoard of wealth in houseplants. A spider plant, English ivy, and even an unknown fern cozily tucked into the small box. During the daytime, they sleep in the dark, shielded from the harmful radiation that our cheap apartment building doesn't completely block. The small lead-lined safe is called a black house, and used by fools who decide to keep plants despite not living in a suitable home. Fools like me. At night, a small solar LED in the bedroom. At night, small solar LEDs in the bedroom bathe them in nutritional photons, allowing them to continue growing. This backwards day and night cycle lets me actually enjoy their air purifying qualities, while never at risk that I'll have to be out late at work and come home to find them dead from burns or mutation. When I was first gifted one, a tiny vine of ivy, I saw it more as a burden than anything else, but nonetheless did my best to keep it alive. I had to buy all the equipment to sustain it, as well as adjust my routine so that each morning I was actually home began with hiding it away. Somehow, the fact that I'd managed to keep it alive got out, and more of the clients decided that I must love plants. The alcohol well dried up, and I've been instead spending a fortune on purified water and an ever-expanding collection of LEDs. Despite my best efforts, the life of Legatus doesn't stick to any routine, and several had died when I was kept away from home for extended periods. Had Praetor Chroma been telling people that I liked plants? The second thing must have been Jinn. That one she at least got right. As I hold the already 9-inch tall plant up to my 1-foot tall black house, I realize that yet another upgrade is going to be in order. There goes all of my expendable income for this month. I guess I will take Vody up on that offer for a drink while I can. Only that turns out to be an impossibility. I only get as far as the outdoor parking lot beside Vody's apartment tower. The spots are overflowing with cars, and surrounding the building is a huge crowd of the same people that had been at the storage warehouse. Far more, and out in the open air since the sun has already gone down. Driving past slowly, I see several at different times walking over to the building to place flowers, candles, and signed notes in front of a large virtual mural of the man I had come to drink with. He's opening his arms, laughing and bowing one last time for his public. They're holding a vigil for the comedian who drank for 4 days straight, then stepped out of his window. My childhood idol, Vody. Blinking twice makes Vody disappear and shows me the pitch dark of the Republic at night. The ground is only lit up by the candles that his fans have left on the floor of his virtual image, at the foot of his virtual image. That flickering light reveals the dirty grey cement covered in years of grime. A patch of pale white is visible right where the man still stood, tall in the duoverse. The cleaning robots had scrapped hard to get his gore out. The only reminder that Vody's body had hit the ground at this exact spot. The spot where his fans now stood to take selfies with his virtual mural. Guess I missed the last call. He did go splat. Foreshadowing. Sure, we'll save that one. And that was chapter 4. In all of the emotional damage. Goodbye, devotee. Hello to Cheshire Cat. More dark roots. More dark roots. Not the foreshadowing. Don't worry. You don't have to say, I voted for the second option. We live with what we live with. It's just going to be very fun going down this route. Because keep in mind, the darker you make this world, the darker I'm going to write it. I have things planned. You have unlocked things. Path unlocked. Fucked up shit. We live in pain. We live in a society. A clown society. See? It all comes back to Joker. It's pain, but man, it's good. I thought so. I like that final line too. Why are you all like this? We're all broken individuals, man. We want the angst. We want the pain. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that one too. Really good though. I feel so invested. Thank you, Elsale. That one was written terribly when I came back to it. It's so fucking long. And when I was started writing it again 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh, yo, it's so long. This is going to be so fun. When I first wrote it, for one thing, Catherine did not have much of a personality. She did not show herself by movements. She did not explain why she wanted to do anything. It was just like, oh, she's stealing from her boss kind of thing. I had to rewrite all of that. The writing style was way off. I mean, the writing style isn't great now. I do what I can, but let's be fair. It's not like it's a masterpiece now, but before it was just so simple, so boring. But yeah, that one took a long time to rewrite, which is why it's been 4 weeks between these sessions. But at least that made for a very long stream. 2.5 hours just for 2 chapters. That second chapter was wild. Yeah, they're not going to be that long in the future. That one, it's just the whole ARG thing and going to multiple locations, and it had a lot of background details. You got to hear about the Pulse and Shimmer, the Duoverse, Mirari Industries, I'm Prince, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, a lot of world building in that one. And now we've gotten through all of that, we can relax. Which is funny, since chapter 2 and 3. In chapter 2, it was on purpose. We kind of introduced the ideas of the Duoverse and the multiple people owning things and everything. But we didn't really bring it up. That was on purpose. That was supposed to get you oh, weird. Why does that work? Chapter 3, I'm not going to lie, was written way after chapter 4. I was supposed to. I've already had that all explained, and you to be like, ah, yes, the Duoverse. Ah, yes, they're unis. Yeah. It's getting better with every chapter. Thank you. Are every selections all bad ends? So far. You know what? No. On the first read through, I won't spoil what would have happened. I'm never going to spoil what would have happened in other endings, but you got some good endings. You got some endings during the first read through. But yeah. You got bad endings both times this one. And I thought they were I made them very, very obvious in which one's good ending and which one's dark ending. I wouldn't really say good and bad ending. It's happy ending, pain ending. Both life goes on. The Legatus strides forward. Fulgur Ovid moves forward. How many chapters are planned? I have no idea. I could do this for 2 years in a row. If I manage to get out 2 decent chapters that makes me an hour-and-a-half long stream every 3 to 4 weeks, I'll be happy. And I have, obviously, I fucking spoiled it during the thing. I hate it when people start writing stories without knowing how it's going to end. I know the middle, I know the end. There's a general story building up so far. You're only really getting the touches of it. You're getting to know who Legatus is and how he thinks about himself, the world he interacts with, and some of the characters. We've only kind of barely mentioned the professor. We've given him a name and everything. But now you've met Chroma, Praetor Chroma, who you may recognize from other parts of the story if you go back and realize, oh, that was her. Got you. Yeah. I like her. I think she was written pretty cool. I like the eyes. I like the idea of her being no, I'm watching you in the real world. And I show that very obviously. Get used to it, bitch. You better stick around for at least 2 years. Hell yeah. But yeah, I thought there were a lot of good ideas in there. Not written great, but I enjoyed it. Luna H. Teacher Sheep, if you have a chance to do a live writing, thank you. We've actually already done that once during the membership stream. We'll be doing that again in the future. Yeah, during membership streams, what we do is do some writing and take names from people. So some of the names that showed up in the novel so far have been people who submitted their names. In fact, one of the main characters in one of these chapters, Iris Park, was one of the names submitted. A couple other ones that were just background characters because, like I said, I'd already fully written chapter 4. So chapter 4 was already around. But yeah, we'll be doing more membership streams. Rin. Starting to get scared and a little enjoy in making choices now. Really enjoyed chapter 4. The voicing acting brings me more immersion to the story. Yeah, sorry, I don't know what's up with my throat this morning. I had like a really good voice for Voldy ready, and Catherine and Chroma ended up sounding very similar. They weren't supposed to. Catherine was supposed to be a lot more youthful, and Chroma was supposed to be a lot more calm, but I can't do girls' voices at the best of times. This morning, I'm just fucked. Isako, write more, please. I am aggressively asking. Aggressively asking is a lovely way to put it. Thank you for donating the food funds. Shimomi. Oh, let's enjoy the darkness together. After this night, I'll be more prepared for future Legatus 505 stories. Emotional damage preparation.
Legatus.
Yeah, I thought the end for Iris Park was one of those litmus test moments where it's like, can you handle this? If you can, good. If the Iris Park thing broke you, oh, it's gonna get real fucked up later. Real fucked up. Stealing names, talking ass. Who said that? That's fucking perfect though. Stealing names and talking ass. Alvis, thank you, Futan. I feel bad today, but when I heard your calming voice, I feel better now. Taskaru. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed the stream, and I'm glad you got to join us. Thank ya. Oh, AO Stellaford. Thanks for the stream today, Futan. My dad's birthday today, and we're having fig, raspberry, and pistachio cake while watching your story. Oh my god, that sounds so good. Fig, raspberry, and pistachio? That sounds delicious. I've never had that combination. By the way, it was the chapter title inspired from The Sound of Silence. Yes, it was. And the neon gods they made. So that was the idea. That chapter had a lot of references to the general idea of how we idolize people, make them look like something bigger than they are, and then because of that, don't treat them as human because, hey, they're celebrities. They'll never see me talking shit about them on the internet. They'll never feel absolutely soul-destroying depression when I talk shit about them and, you know, they just happen to see it. Fun times. But yeah, that was a reference to that. Thank you for donating the food funds. Future Corpse. I need to wait for translation to fully understand the chapter. Just want to say it's so much fun to listen to you reading the story. Thank you so much, Future Corpse. Thank you for donating the food funds. Oh, there's a lot coming in. June, thank you so much for the donation and no monies. Not the donation and no message. Opposite. Thank you for donating the food funds. Adoro Obscura. Came in halfway, but still catch the replay. The story sounded so good. Can't wait to hear more. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining us while you could. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it when it's all written up. Like I said, same time as last time. These chapters will go up on the blog in about 5 days or so. To let people, hopefully, I know that artists like to draw art from this, and I like to have the art from as soon as the chapters go up. So if you guys do any art, make sure to hashtag it, hashtag Legatus505. As long as it's not 18 plus art, you can also use the hashtag Full Gallery, my normal art tag. If it's 18 plus art, add the Cybussy tag. Because obviously, I'm fine with you guys doing 18 plus art for Legatus 505. Legatus 505 is an adult storyline. The blog is mature locked. The videos are set for not for children. We have the content warnings right there in the open. So feel free to do that. And anyone who doesn't want to see adult content, I'd imagine by now, has muted hashtag Cybussy. Nonita Aka. Love your portrayal of Legatus. Always reminds me of Lawrence of Arabia. Mission apparently with identity struggle behind. Sorry if I'm overinterpreting. I have never actually seen Lawrence of Arabia. I will shit on myself right now. I know that's a masterpiece of a story. Everybody talks about it. I've never seen that, but thank you so much. That's a huge compliment. I'll catch this one before it disappears. Den. Really liked the way you narrated. It felt like an audiobook. Thank you so much. It was really fun. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Keep in mind, we do have one more thing to go, if you guys have the password. But I'll wait for that for a minute. I'll keep going through these, just in case we don't have the password. Saya, Fulgur's Bookshelf. Thank you for the amazing story. Definitely will read all chapters again. Thank you so much. Yenrius. The pain ending is obvious, but we obviously subscribe to you for depression. From someone who chose both pain routes in 2 seconds. Let's go, Yenrius. That's fair. I would have done the same, I'm not going to lie. That's why I'm so looking forward to playing Detroit again. Mika. Hi, Futsan. Have a nice day, and I'm going to bed. Have a good night. Have a lovely night. Thank you for joining us. Also, I didn't say it, but thank you to the person earlier who's having the amazing cake. Happy birthday. Thank you for donating the food funds. I hope your dad had an amazing birthday and you enjoyed the cake. Miss you 03. Thank you for the really good chapters and gargle sounds. Dust cutter. You only heard it once though. The mute button was working the other times. Love you, Fu-chan. Thank you so much. Emily Jasmine Chang. Hi, Fu-chan. Hope your energy get back already. Thank you for Legatus 505 stream today. My energy is back. The reason my energy has been so down this week has been because I set myself this challenge to make sure I finished editing these chapters and having them ready by this week. Which is why I've been like continuously, whenever I've not been streaming, I've either been writing or resting. That's been my life for this week. So yeah, that's why by the point that Disco Elysium happened, I was already low energy. I was trying to play that game super safe and not really enjoying it as much as I would have, and worried about basically graduating because of how dark it was and choosing routes that would have got me into a lot of trouble. And so yeah, I was really depressed around then. And then Zelda Breath of the Wild helped a little. And then when I finished my writing yesterday, yeah, we're good. Thank you. Ah, man. Or more here. Nate! Holy shit, with the huge Akasipa. Thank you for donating the food funds. That's so sweet of you. Oh, damn, that's a huge Akasupa. And no message. Thank you so much. Arcana. I understand the feeling of not being able to fill the gaps, although I have the general concept. Never finished anything, so now I only write short stories. Listening to you, though, makes me want to write again. Good luck, looking forward to more. Thank you so much, Arcana. Yeah, I have a general idea of where the story is going to go, like a beginning, middle, and end. But a lot of this stuff is just going to be like episodic content where it's like, oh, this would be a cool idea in a cyberpunk world. Just, you know, also hinting towards the general idea of the storyline. I think I've gotten across a lot of the themes by now of what will come up in Legatus' tale. And yeah, it'll be fun to like build that up as we go on. Thank you so much for donating the food funds. I hope your writing goes good too. I'm having a lot of fun doing this. Love everything about you, and it's been wonderful to hear about your story while doing my work. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I can't read your name. It's 2 Chinese characters that I do not know. Thank you so much for donating the food funds. Starry. I was only able to watch the beginning of the stream, but I really enjoyed hearing you talk about Legatus. Really looking forward to the blog and have more emotional damage. Thank you so much. Okay, there's too many of these coming in. I'm going to read the green ones. I'm going to read the yellow one by Mao Tien, and then I'm going to ask you guys to stop sending supers for a little bit, if that's okay. I know that's kind of a dick thing to ask, because it's you guys trying to send me money, but please pause them for then, and we'll see if we can do the extra chapter. Thank you for donating to the food funds. Claudia, thank you for the stream, Fufu-chan. Listening to your voice after a long week is always a delight. The angst and emotional damage in this chapter. Chef's kiss. Once again, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and thank you for donating to the food funds. Ubik, love. Thank you so much. Emily C, thank you. No, thank you. I'm glad you guys are here for this. This makes it much more fun for me. Oh no, another name I can't read. I'm very sorry. Just a heart emoji. Thank you so much for donating the food funds. I'm sorry I can't read it. You're very sweet. And Mao Tien, emotional damage. And Takoyaki Fund. Thank you for donating to the Takoyaki Fund. Oh, Ubik, you donated multiple times. That's why I got confused. I felt like that one moved. Thank you for donating the food funds. QAQ Sack. Good for me to learn English through chance speaking while me feel it. I can listen in my head when I was mad with English. Oh, I'm glad you enjoy listening to the English this way. I hope it continues to be enjoyable for you and not at all frustrating. Hopefully the translation will also help. There are translations in so many languages, and I'm so excited to see it. Camille, thanks for the story. It's so painful yet so good. Just the way you mentioned about how we needed stories like these to feel emotional damage. Exactly. You get the emotional damage, you cry your eyes out, and then you know what? You feel better afterwards. You say, yeah, let's fucking go. This was good. This was cathartic. This was a growth moment. Hi, Fulgur. Thank you for the story stream. Quick question. What do you do usually in order to get in the mood of writing? I force myself. No, I just put on music. I put on atmospheric music. The kind of music you're hearing now, but obviously not my themes, because I would get sick of them very quickly if I listened to that all the fucking time. Yeah. And Yeah, atmospheric music with nice backgrounds, nice darkness. I will read this one. These two are the final ones. God damn it, guys. Why? Is that a reference to Hey Hey Hey? Really enjoy listening to these stories. Yesterday was my friend's birthday and her name is Natalie. Want to know, can you say happy birthday to her? No, I can't. Read the rules of the chat, please. Thank you for donating the food funds. Follow Nijisanji Shrimp. This made me learn how to draw a hand with an apple. Oh, yo. You've been drawing this whole time? Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I know exactly which scene you're doing now. Let's go. Yeah, the apple was the apple of knowledge. Obviously. Sorry, that's stupid. I shouldn't be talking about my own literary references. That sounds pretentious as fuck. Okay, let's try to open the bonus chapter. We'll see if you guys got it. I saw some people mentioning it online, so let's see. Interim2.rtf. Strange. Can't get into this one because it needs a password. What's the password, guys? Anyone know the password for this one? If you don't, it's cool. We'll just end the stream here. Not the Hey Hey Heys. Bonus chapter. Oh, Imara Alethea. Oh, and Kirara. Yeah, that seems to be a concession. Like this one, you know what? I'll talk about this one. I put Animus Ex Machina into a certain way that was hard to get. It took like multiple things, jumping through multiple hoops. And I was like, hey, let's go. Hopefully somebody will get this. And nobody like commented on it using the hashtag or in the comment section or anything. So I was like, oh, I need to make it easier. So then I put the same password in just a single instance in a different thing. And everyone got that one and then started pointing out the other ones. So it was like, okay. You guys were on to me. You just didn't want to show your working in front of people. I get you. That's my bad. Angst. Oh, this one's pure fucking angst and a lot of backstory. It's on the image. Yeah, it is. I didn't want to say that. Let them find it themselves. It's also in the comment section now. Not the comment section of this, the comment section on the blog. As soon as people started pointing that out, I was like, oh, I belittled you guys. You guys had the answers. I acted like I needed to baby you. I didn't need to baby you. Okay. Interim 2. The sheep descends with the eagles. Content warnings. Child abuse and murder. You know, simple shit. That's barely any content warnings. Are you kidding me? Let's go. Being so say-so in this chapter. You love to see it. Okay. We're smart cookies? Apparently. Too smart for me. Okay. Everyone's ready for this? Let's get into this. The rumbling of the earth was all the sheep heard in his ears. Crammed into the back of a convoy transport, vibrations shook him violently from side to side. Sat between two full-grown auxilia, he looked even more a child than usual. Short brown hair fell barely into his eyes, the offset sides framing his face. Grey eyes focused intently on the floor. His full attention was given to a bug that had stowed away with the soldiers. It appeared to be an ant from before the fall, yet with some notable differences. Its color was white, and its body thicker and more chitinous to protect against the harsh environment. It was rare for any form of life to survive outside of the Republic. The harsh environment made sure that anything without a proper exoskeleton or natural armor was doomed to fade away. Small, pale, and weak, the creature approached the sheep's boot. He consciously ceased the shaking of his leg, which had taken him since the journey began. Just how far had it traveled to be here, he wondered. Had it come with him from the Republic? Had it hitched a ride from the last mission? This insignificant creature had traveled far further than the sheep ever had. He who had not left his bed in adolescence. He who had spent his entire life within the walls of the Republic. If such a small and defenseless creature could make it out here, then who was to say there wasn't a chance for any to rise in its wake? Thud. A shock-absorbent boot crashed down into the snow-white insect, snapping the sheep out of his haze. Bastards are everywhere out here, came a grizzled voice from his side. For good measure, the man twisted his heel, boot smearing the remains of the bug into the surface of the caravan. The sheep turned his face to look at the older man. It was expressionless, stoic and steady. A soldier's face. Noticing the eyes of the sheep, the auxiliar's expression soured. And monsters inside the walls too, he grumbled before turning away. The voice sounded even more callous coming out of the pitch-black helmet that surrounded the man's entire head. All of the auxilia wore the same, a carbon fiber material so dark that it almost absorbed the light around it. Black holes atop human bodies from which there was no escape. The helmet the Republic provided the sheep had bounced around his head, more likely to give him a concussion than deflect a bullet. What's a monster like you need protection from anyway? Keep your metal mitts up and you'll do fine. He'd torn it out of his hands and left it in his pen. And this is the beautiful artwork that Moriatsu created from base. This is one of the chapters that we literally wrote on stream during the Member Sheep stream. So Moriatsu created this beautiful image. And unfortunately, I fucked up. I said he had brown eyes originally, and I realized by now he would have had gray eyes. But he still has the brown hair. He's still baby. Great job, Moriatsu, and thank you for letting me use it for the thumbnail. The sheep focused his gaze on the grey smear before him. His wide eyes showed no expression, but his lips trembled slightly as he turned from it to the small window on his left. More a gap than a window, like the arrow slits of a castle. The view was not inviting. The sky above was a dull orange despite it being the middle of the day. The earth below was a wasteland of brown, desert sand having reclaimed the uncolonized earth. The air in between was a hazy mist of pollutants left behind from the generations before. Once more, the sheep's leg began shaking at the thought about the road laid before him. The convoy shook harder as they descended some rocky surface into the earth below. The shadows of the heaped soil shrouded the interior, and the sheep's leg froze. Two small hands balled up in the material on his thighs, gripping tight for any comfort. Gone was the tiny glimpse into the outside, dark and destitute as it had felt up until this point. As the convoy came to a stop, the sheep felt his head fall forward and snap back up. The men around him hadn't moved, fixed in everything that they did. A gasping wheeze erupted from all sides as the doors of the convoy opened autonomously. The artificially pure air was sucked out in an instant, the pungent scent of sulfur engulfing the small compartment. One by one, the eagles descended from the carriage, each steadying themselves as they confirmed the equipment on their bodies. A pistol, a machine gun, a knife, and multiple explosives hung from the holsters that clung to their forms. Entirely clothed in skin-tight black, their silhouettes were a frightening sight to behold. The sheep stumbled out of the convoy, legs trembling from the captivity. His form looked less frightening and more comical, the equipment he carried hanging off of him like unsheared wool. Wasting no time, the eagles began plunging deeper into the earth, their eyes fixed on a hatch, shining silver juxtaposed against the barren terrain. Pouncing on it, the first eagle tore an opening into the den, swooping forward in an effortless motion. As a unit, the other eagles followed suit, dropping into the hole, their prey already panicking, alerting one another of the predators in their midst. Gunshots erupted from within the bunker, and the sheep paused a moment to look down at the chaos within. Dark, dismal, dirty. Flashes from the eagles' guns cast twisted shadows of their own forms onto the tiny patch within. He had to drop down, descend with his flock to beneath the earth where ghosts still haunted. Eyes closed, he lifted his face to the heavens, the light of which no longer reached him. One single deep breath flooded his lungs with a new kind of air. A familiar, sickeningly sweet scent of metal and flesh. He was ready. Until he looked down. Two narrowed eyes. That's all the sheep saw at first as the form clawed its way up the exit ladder. "Oi! Grab that kid!" One of the eagles screeched from below. A gun is drawn. A small pistol from the sheep's hip. Practiced and precise, the movement was wired into his very being over the last 2 years. The form pauses as it breaches the surface, staring up at the sheep and his gun. Those narrowed eyes. A curved pair of lips. A small flat nose. Wild red hair is tangled all over the head of the child, who now glares up at the sheep. Flight or fight reflex in full force. More wild animal than child, a flash of white appears on the child's face. A fox-like smile, recognizing the sheep as a fellow human. "Don't move!" Sheep cries out. His voice cracked a little, but somehow he managed to avoid stuttering. "We won't hurt us a bit!" The form is ripped off of the ladder, feet first. With so much force applied, the child has no time to react, face slamming into the solid metal below. crunch followed by spluttering spilt out of the bunker, and finally the sheep found his footing, plunging confidently into the mass grave. Stop! Fists raised up at chin level, pistol abandoned above ground. The sheep growls at his own flock in defiance. The gunshots have already fallen silent, along with the pleading and struggles of those who called this hole home. Releasing the child's ankle, the mountain of a man looks back at his eagles with a laugh. "What fuck do you think you're doing, monster?" he asks. "Daddy not teach you how to read? This was the mission." A murder of laughter erupted from the convocation surrounding the sheep. With a gentle, simple movement, the mountain slid his boot under the fox's arm, kicking forward to flip him onto his back. Everything was dark red, from the hair down to the clothing, blood still pouring out of his mouth and nose, flying out and over his body with each cough and gasp. The fox resembled a newborn ripped away from his mother's protection. Even smaller than the sheep, he could have only been 8 at the oldest. And now his breaths were labored and rattling like a man on his deathbed. "Eliminate any hostiles that resist. The Republic always welcomes civilians who need aid," the sheep bleated. The eagles caught back at him, surrounded by a dozen fresh bodies and the hordes of treasure from the old world. And the hordes of treasure from the old world they had buried themselves with. "Running is resistance. The Republic sent a Legatus ahead of us, monster. My guess, he's in that pot out there." A gentle whistling could be heard from the next room, and the sizzle of liquid spilling and boiling on a hot surface. If you used your fucking eyes, you'd see this bugger's parading around in his shoes. Sure enough, the fox had one red and white shoe on his left foot, marked with the Legatus wolf. The other had disappeared somewhere across the room, far too loose on his tiny feet to hold on when he was ripped off of the ladder. "How's about you use them Frankenstein parts of yours and crush this bug like I taught ya?" There was another round of laughter in the room as the mountain grinned back at his flock in triumph. For months, the largest man in the squad had done his best to break the smallest boy force upon him. Now that he had dispatched a real mission, the animosity had only grown worse. The cackle echoing throughout the room was just another weight that the sheep would have to bear. The straw that broke the sheep's resolve. Crunch! It sounded like a car being compacted, sped up to half a second. It felt as easy as swatting a fly. A landslide of rock-hard flesh and body armor toppled to the ground, vomiting violently on the blood-soaked metal. The mountain of a man coughed and spluttered in a mixture of his own bile and the blood of the fox as he rolled to the side and struggled hard to breathe. Without any hesitation, the sheep kicked hard into the man on the ground's chest, launching him over the child and into the corner of the room like a rag doll. Fulgur Ovid, all 5 feet of his teenage form, assumed a defensive pose towards the black eagles of the Auxilia. One crimson fist had been exposed from the force with which he'd connected against the first man's body armor and crumpled it into his solar plexus. "You're so desperate to kill a child? Explain to the Praetorians how your monster died on his first mission defending one who tried to flee!" The eagles eyed one another, likely communicating silently on a neural network that Fulgur couldn't access. One in the corner readied his rifle, then paused, looking at another and nodding. They couldn't gun him down with weapons from the Republic. Having to explain why their new toy, already broken down and molded by the Auxilia's harsh training, would commit treason on day one would be too difficult. He passed his psych evaluation just like every one of them. The Republic had put his mind back together just enough to go on living outside its walls. Grins appeared on the faces of the men as they began grabbing makeshift weapons out of anything they could find. A bunk's metal frame, a desk leg. One even ripped the huge air purifier out of a nearby wall, approaching menacingly with glee all over his features. The slaughter in the slums. That was what the media had branded Fulgur Ovid's crime as. His punishment? Skipping the rest of conscription and serving the Republic in the Auxilia, special forces within and outside our borders. The Black Eagles didn't take too kindly to his appearance and had tried to goad him into fighting numerous times as he struggled through training. Finally, they had their opportunity to butt horns with the monster in their midst, and the scent of blood in the air had driven them into a frenzy. The paperwork, of course, swears that the Doomers, surviving in their fallout bunker, had attacked them all. Almost 100 in all, their 8th troop of only 6 men and 1 boy took heavy damage, but fought them off together as a unit. 4 men. That's how many of the best trained soldiers the Republic had to offer Fulgur Ovid knocked unconscious in the bunker. The first, which he had meant as a message, suffered injuries serious enough to end his career. He retired as a hero, having served the Republic to his fullest extent. The others woke up bruised and battered, but able to return to active service within weeks. Fulgur Ovid himself was in critical care for 6 days, in the hospital for 3 more months. Once he returned to the Auxilia, he did so a respected member of the squad, having earned his place among them. By the time he was fit for redeployment, the helmet fit him snugly, making him just another faceless eagle. He never led his own troop, but he served diligently as a breacher for over a decade, fully paying back the time for his crimes before taking an easy job as a Legatus. The fox-faced child was taken back to the Republic and assigned to a family to be raised into an upstanding citizen. He disappeared before Fulgur left the hospital and was only reported missing by the parents 9 years later, when he would have been required to enlist for conscription. They received a hefty insurance settlement 5 years later when it was assumed he had passed away, on top of all the aid they had received for providing for a child over the years. And that's the end of that chapter. 9 years later. Yeah. Yeah, they collected that check. They made that money. They did good for themselves. Sheep grew his horns out. Yeah. But they respected him for it. They didn't kill him. They didn't kill him. They beat him unconscious and then said, you know what? Pretty fucking badass. Oh. Fox-faced child indeed. So yeah, that's some proper backstory on Fulgur Ovid. Especially since we hinted to it in chapter 3, describing a certain event. Gonna read that again? Let's go. Badass Fulgur. Yeah, he's tiny back then too. He's not as young as he probably sounds. He's certainly not as young as he looks in the beautiful artwork for Moriatsu. He wouldn't look quite that small, but pretty small. Keep in mind, while he is a teenager, he is also rather undeveloped because of his history. His muscles had not had a chance to grow properly. Yeah. Kick names, take ass, fuck yeah. But at the same time, Sag, a little bit Sag. Mainly good shit. Go back to just chatting. There we go. So yeah, that's the end of our read through for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I personally had a shit ton of fun. I'm glad we had so many people for this. I'm glad people enjoyed it. Shoda Futsan? Nah, Shonen Futsan. Just, you know, kind of tiny for his age as well. The degrading voices, Futsan, I'm on my knees. I like that voice. That voice is one of the best things to have come out of Disco Elysium. Like, oh my god, the voices in Disco Elysium are so good. And it was definitely, I forget its name. I think it's Inland Empire that talks like that, where it's kind of slow and degrading. Fuck you kind of thing. A little bit of an accent, a little bit Cockney, a little bit Northern. You're improving so much, Fuchan. Thank you for sharing your work. I think my writing is getting better. It's one of those things. Practice makes perfect. Just keep trying and it'll work out. So loved the last BGM. Oh, you liked the battle BGM. Let's go. Thank you for the amazing novel. We'll watch POV later. Thank you. Thank you for the stream and sharing your work. Thank you guys for joining me. This was a hell of a lot of fun. Thank you, Eve, for donating the food funds. Just sheeps and love hearts. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And Nanami, thank you so much for the big super. And for, oh my god. Yeah, no message. Thank you so much. The Battle BGM is so good. It is. If you want a link to the artist is down in the description of this video. They've done all of the songs we've used so far. We will have sad BGMs soon. I swear, they're coming. They're going to be from a different artist. They're on their way. I really hoped they were going to make it for this one, especially with the Iris Park and the Archibald Jimmy. It would have been good to have those. Voldy. Yeah. Those would have been good, but it's fine. We'll get them next time. Kusina, pain and suffering do spark joy. Yeah, they help you feel better afterwards. Thank you for donating to the food funds. And Asamori, thank you for donating the food funds with just a lovely little love heart emote. Adohade, I love how immersive you make the stories. I was so invested that I didn't notice the time passing. This is such a good bedtime story. Taskaru. Thank you. Definitely going to make them shorter from now on. Because definitely when I listen to bedtime stories, I prefer them to be like an hour long. Any longer than that, and you have to just keep reloading them and finding out the bits where you fell asleep. Yeah, I fall asleep to the Magnus archives a lot, and then have to go back and be like, oh shit, how much of this did I miss? Blue Blood Moon, thank you for donating the food funds. Legatus love, hell yeah. Pacey, dark themes aside, I really enjoy these storytelling streams, especially since I don't have free time to read. This satisfies that itch. Thank you for your work. Thank you so much for being here and enjoying them. I'm glad you've shown up and enjoyed them. And thank you for donating the food funds. Bleep Bleep, thank you for donating. Electric Sheep love, thank you. Kino, Baby Fulgur, must protect. I think you just saw Baby Fulgur can protect himself. Even, yeah, barely knowing how to use his Synets. The professor gave him some fun Synets. Thank you for donating to the food funds. Oh, man. Yo, thank you for donating the food funds. Big donation, but no message. Thank you so much. And Miranda Chow, thank you for the huge super with no message as well. Thank you so much. Tish, #1 fan. Yo, Fulgur the Edgelord? When did you become Fulgur the Edgelord? You've changed your name again. Thank you for donating the food funds, and the super sticker just, yeah, cute. It used to be Fulgur Avid's #1 fan. Now it's Fulgur Edgelord. Isabella Wang, thank you for donating the food funds. I'm going to read the translations later. Yeah, I'm so glad there's so many translations up. And do, for sure, go on the blog and let me know a comment if you've done another translation that I haven't added. I've tried to add like the index pages kind of thing, like where you can read all of them for each one. Even though some of them aren't quite set that way, I've done my best to get those so people can just read every chapter in the translation. Yeah. So excited about that. So excited about the art. If anyone does art, please use the tags. I would love to add it to the blog. One of my favorite things while writing this story is just imagining the scenes and then seeing it all come to life by you guys who can actually do that shit. Whereas I try to paint a picture with words and just like, is this good enough? You guys like this? So yeah, I'm interested to see what kind of characters you guys liked. People really liked from chapter 2, Park Ferrum. I got so much art of Park Ferrum being like muted, blocked. I was so happy with that. So I'm excited to see what kind of scenes people liked from this one. Yeah. Matthew Cott, enjoying and feeling suffering at the same time. Thanks, Ruchan. Love your story streaming. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And thank you for donating to the food funds. Thank you, Mods, for doing an amazing job. I saw, for some reason, we got hit by like 5 chatbots in a row. I'm really sorry about that. And it was while I was in the middle of doing that long stretch in chapter 4. So I was watching you guys bonking them continuously and thinking, why do they keep coming? They just keep coming. Mods, you're incredible. Thank you so much. The suffering adds spice. Let's go. You're a great novel painter. Oh, thank you so much. We have so many incredible artists in the confidants. I am so thankful. And translators. And just people who show up and share things. And people who theorize. And the fact that you guys managed to get the passwords. God, I'm so fucking blessed. Thank you guys so much. This has been a dream come true. And yeah, these are definitely obviously my favorite streams because it's me being able to actually like tell a story of my own for once. Stories being one of my favorite things and me doing my best. I can't read this name. I think it's either Ke or Ku. But thank you so much for donating the food funds. I'm sorry, I'm still really bad at hiragana and katakana. Sai, Legatus voice simp. Love the story. Dad will wait for Chinese translation. Let's go. I'm glad he dropped in for a little while. Thank you so much. I hope, yeah, he enjoys it when he gets to read the Chinese translation. Mandolin, Otsukare. Thank you so much for donating the food funds. Fish, Fulgur Ovid fan. Okay, I'll change my name back for you. It's okay. You can keep it on Edgelord. It was just, I was surprised. I was like, oh no. I wasn't the Edgelord today. I only wrote that. You guys chose the paths. You could have chose much happier paths. I think I'm probably going to have to do a thing. Another interim with the professor to talk about Iris Park. I'll see what you guys theorize first. Maybe I'll just, if anybody theorizes it right on Twitter and uses the Legatus #505 tag, I think I'll just retweet that and be like, yeah, that's my way of saying, hey, that one's correct. Because I like all of the theories. All of the theories make me happy, so I always like them on Twitter. But yeah, I'll only retweet the ones where it's like, this I can confirm. This way I don't have to do an interim. Magnus Archives fan. Yeah, I'm just reading the bit where Jonathan's been kind of exiled. He's staying with a friend right now. It's great. It's great. Reading? Listening to. Yeah, they just did a really good one. One of my favorite ones so far. the stairs, the nowhere stairs. I forget what it was called. It starts with the poem that talks about, I met a man who wasn't there. A man on the stairs. He wasn't there. He wasn't there the next night. And it just continues in that storytelling style the whole time with the paradoxes. It's so fucking good. Nixie. Today's stream is such an unexpected emotional ride, but choices are choices. Now I need to hug Legatus' new plant for some comfort. Yeah, at least he has some nice plants. We don't have an Archie, we don't have a Voldy anymore, but we have some nice plants. Thank you for donating the food funds. Mikita-chan, your descriptive writing is just amazing. I definitely need to give him a proper read later. Hell yeah, I hope you enjoy it. And don't notice all my mistakes later on. I can't believe how many mistakes I let through, even though I'd been putting it on the blog and checking for spelling mistakes. I still messed up so much. Lorgy, thank you for the amazing chapters. Angst is my new medicine. Have a nice day, Fu-chan. Thank you so much, Lorgy. Thank you for donating the food funds, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. Have a lovely day. Seawing, thank you for joining the membership. Welcome to the membership. Suki Akari, thank you for the story time. Really fun and Taskaru. Otsufufu, thank you so much. And I'm sorry, a Chinese name I can't read. I love Fufu-chan's voice, so I watch your stream every day. Thank you so much. Thank you for donating the food funds, and thank you just for being here. I'm glad you enjoy it. Mitsunaji, we love to see you enjoying our live streams. Thank you so much, Fu-chan. It's great. It's fantastic. Raise the timer? No. We're good. We're good. That's enough. That's enough super chats. We're good to leave now. Thank you so much for joining me for this stream. Tonight, I'm going to be playing with Noctyx. Fang Yo Tai. Thank you, Kami. Fang Yo Tai. Thank you for donating the food funds. I'm sorry if you've been translating the names before and I've been missing them. About turning them into pronunciation for me. Sorry. But thank you for donating the food funds, Fang Yo Tai. And yeah, tonight we're going to be playing Prop Hunt with Noctyx. A game I don't own yet. I really need to buy that and install it. Fuck. I'm not going to be sharing my POV. I know I almost did. I forgot the fact that I'd said I wasn't going to be sharing my POV because I want the SEO for this to stay up, for this to be the only video for today. So make sure you watch one of their POVs. I will be sharing them on Twitter, as I always do. I'll be saying how many perspectives you can watch it from. I think all 4 of them are sharing it. So yeah, I'll be there. I'll be having fun. I'll be playing the game. It's just, yeah, I won't be sharing my POV. So this is the only video for today. Thank you all so much for joining us. The new schedule will be out. It has to be tonight. I have to do the schedule tonight because I'm either taking tomorrow off or I'm taking Monday off. I'm taking one day off soon. But yeah, I'll figure out the schedule tonight to make sure that if I take off tomorrow, you guys are prepared for it and what we're doing tomorrow otherwise. So all of you have a lovely evening. Thank you so much for joining us for the Legatus 505 live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't be led astray, my confidants. And I will catch you next time.